Hello, happy Sunday. Well, I'm filming this on Sunday. It's Sunday, January 8th. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, timestamps will be in the description for whatever reading you choose, whatever readings are for you. So go ahead and check that out. And I'll see you there, of course. And looks like everything's working. So we'll just, hey, everybody. Hey, yeah. How's everybody doing today? Good morning. Can you guys hear me all right? Looks like you can. Hey, Devin Collins. Cherry Lime 444. Hello, how are you doing? Happy Sunday. I hope you're doing great. Exactly stuff. Hey, how are you doing? How's everybody doing today? Happy New Year, Julie B. Flower. Happy New Year. Hope you have a beautiful 2023. All of you have a beautiful 2023, of course. Happy New Year, baby doll. Good to see ya. Good morning, Not Your Lynn. Good morning, Heather Vibes. How are you doing? I'm gonna randomly just pull a card for everyone while we're this is interesting. Yeah, so the card I'm getting for everyone here right now, even though we haven't really stepped into the readings yet, but Seven of Pentacles. I wouldn't worry about the words on the bottom of the card, which reminds me, I need to flip the camera. Nope. Sorry, you get to see my messy room here, office space. There we go. There we go. Seven of Pentacles coming out though. And what I was getting is like, yeah, things are actually growing in your life, but you have to be a bit patient, especially with any projects or businesses you're dreaming up or dreams in general. A lot is very possible now and in the future, but patience is key. Maybe even for the next year, if you're trying to build something, is what I'm hearing for this crowd. And that's not meant to disempower you at all or be like, you can't make it in a year or anything like that. Actually, it's meant to make you patient so that you'll take more action and see it through over the long haul instead of giving up too early is what I'm getting. And sometimes we need to look at things in a span of years and not just like days or months. And that leads us to success because we're not just looking for a shortcut. We're like, what will it take to actually be successful over the long haul? And that can lead to your success is something I'm getting. So that's the message I'm getting with the Seven of Pentacles. And they were saying not to pay attention to the words at the bottom of the card, which say empty promises. Not what's coming is what I'm getting. That's not about you. And this is what I'm getting with this card. I don't always like, well, I don't know. That's what I'll say on that one. We'll pull one more for everyone here since we're already here. The Lovers coming out here. For anyone who needs to hear it, don't worry about love. It's taken care of is something I'm getting. First and foremost as a channeled message with this card. Give me 1 second here. So anything else with the Lovers card for everyone before we start the other readings? So this is, I don't know if this is going to be for all of you or just some of you. Well, who is this for? This is for most of you, actually. I feel like if you think you're doing like really badly at love, you're actually doing better at love than you think you are or realize. Like if you're dating, there might just be like a few little tweaks you need to do on like your perspective or maybe even on the people you're allowing into your life or the people you're allowing to give you advice, like friends and things will go great is something I'm getting. For others of you, you have a really good relationship or great relationship that just needs a little, and this is going to be a little bit different for each of you, of course. So that's why I'm going through these different messages I'm getting with the card, but you have like a good or really like relationship or something that just needs a little bit of like work, or you maybe switching perspective about the person to what I'm hearing is be more welcoming to them or open to their ways, I suppose. And I'm not saying to be open to any ways that are, of course, never open to things like abuse or things that are like, you know, all not the stereotypical, but the things people always talk about that are bad, like gaslighting and things like that. Like, yeah, no, not that. But I mean, just like maybe they just have a different perspective on life or a different way of looking at things. And you just have to be open to how they are and not try to change them too much. And like the relationship evolves and they grow out of it anyways, is something I'm hearing, some of the things. And for others of you, there's a third message with this card for others of you. And what is it here? I do feel like there might be like a lot coming back from the past right now. It makes sense we're filming this during Mercury and retrograde, but it is timeless in case you somehow find yourself watching this on YouTube in the future. And the other message I'm getting with this card here is just going towards the new instead of going towards the old, because it can be very distracting when all these things you thought you wanted from the past show up and you're like, ooh, shiny, pretty, I like you. But it's kind of just a distraction is what I'm getting, and you should really be probably heading towards the new for most of you who this message is resonating for, is something I'm getting. And the other thing I'm hearing is, to the point, is the new is the win. So sometimes there's like old ideas that come back around, old people, old places, but it's really like heading towards the new is where it's at and what will lead to the most success. So I'd very highly consider taking the choice that leads to the new. And there's no more with that card. We're going to move on to, I know that was kind of an impromptu collective reading, but we're going to move on to the collective reading. And jump right in. Whoop. And I know some of you were talking about the signs and you want me to get new signs, and I will get new signs, but I don't have new signs yet. I still have little sticky notes that are pink. So I'm going to have to do that. But we're going to move to the, I guess the more official collective and less impromptu one. And I'm going to put it on the wall. Fully that's good. Give me 1 second here. Thank you. So this is just going to be just channel messages for everyone here, and pretty much what happened. I did channel a few messages through ahead of time, as well as just we're going to see what else comes through, and maybe we'll pull cards. We'll see what I'm guided to do. But one of the things we're looking at today is, and they gave me like an official title for it, and then I kind of forgot it between what I was doing then and now that we're doing the live. I should have written it down. And maybe that's a lesson for anyone else who gets messages where you should just write things down sometimes. But it was really about, what it will take to overcome certain blocks in your life and move forward. I remembered. Okay. Well, what will it take to overcome certain blocks in your life and move forward? Okay. We'll just move into, I need a second, clearly. Let's move into the messages. So this is just for everybody here, everyone who's watching or ends up watching this, and let's jump in. So what would it take to overcome your blocks? This is going to sound a little bit simple, and it makes sense because it's just for everyone, but healing was the first thing that came through. But there's a little bit more. It's about like seeking out a healing modality. And if it's not seeking out a specific modality, it's like getting a session with someone that you trust who's really good, or that your friend recommends who's really good, learning a modality, anything like that. And sometimes we just need a little bit of help, like moving something, like healing a wound, moving some energies, moving some hurt, I guess you could say, releasing. And many of you would benefit from a session from anyone you're drawn to, or that would resonate for you to get one from. Of course, it doesn't have to be me or anything like that, but learning something to keep your energies good, if you don't already have those tools, would also be just kind of like a secondary message to that one. So I know it's a bit standard, but if you have been thinking about learning a modality from anyone that resonates for you to learn from, or feels really good for you to learn from, or getting a healing session, I would really highly consider it. Even just pulling one up on YouTube as like a quick start to that, or getting the energies moving, could be better than nothing if you just really don't have the money. There's plenty of sessions on YouTube. Like, there are so many people who have begun posting things like that. So, and there's many things from just the years past as well. So I would consider looking into that with any modality that resonates for you. And I think I've kind of already said everything else regarding that. So anything else I need to say, or we can move on? It's really about moving the energies is what I'm getting, or it's like wounds that have been really stubborn or stuck, or maybe even people you've been stuck on, and healing some of that stuff that's keeping it stuck. So you're just a bit more free from all the energies that are holding you back is what I'm getting. Or I don't know. Sometimes I'm a bit iffy on cords, and I'm going to go on my tangent here, because sometimes I sit with how much of the stuff that people tend to, I don't like the word stereotypically, but stereotypically talk about, such as like cords or maybe even blocks, but like things like that is like really more made up, and we've created it and created the problem more than it was actually really a problem. And I can understand it being a framework we've conceptualized or people have created in order to deal with certain things or circumstances. So you have a modality or a method to help, such as like help move on from people or help things. And so sometimes I wonder if we or if people just create more problems than were originally or are really meant to be there in the first place. And if it's possible, just step out of that paradigm in the first place and just be like free of cords. Like no cords, they don't exist. We're good. And same with, and the reason I talk about this in this tangent is because I've had, what's the best thing for me to talk about? I'm going to go a little bit out there and we're going to talk about cell towers for a second. And I've never gone into this information because I just don't think it's always helpful for people. But before anyone ever said anything weird about cell towers to me, I was completely fine. And I'm sure you'll all just kind of recognize this as if you think back, like my whole life, fine. When I started to buy that there's like, oh, there's like frequencies being broadcast with cell towers that are with certain agendas, or which is not what I believe, honestly. Or there's just like, there's all this negative stuff with cell towers. That's when I started feeling really, really weird about cell towers. That's when my energies felt weird and I felt weird around them. But as I like unbought that paradigm, I am suddenly fine around cell towers again, you know? So it's kind of like, sometimes I think people just create the mess more than they intend. And I'm not trying to say you're wrong or bad if you don't like cell towers. And I'm not saying those frequencies like 5G are even good for us, but I'm also hesitant to lean so far into it being bad for me that I'm creating more of it than what's actually really there, if that makes sense. So just something to consider with concepts like chords is how much of it is really created by us and how much of it really needs to exist in the first place is just something I want to consider. Because my question is like, who came up with it? How did they come up with it? Where were they coming from? And with all these people that took it and ran with it and like made it a thing and talk about it all the time, it's like, do they really understand where it came from? And sometimes if I'm divinely guided or get channel messages like, oh, there's this cord cutting would help you, or working with this way of looking at things would help you, I'll gladly bring it through. And you'll hear me probably channel about chords sometimes, but that's just something I want to share with you guys as just an idea that I've encountered or something like that, because that's just something I've encountered that's sometimes it helps me to sometimes let go of those ideas, but sometimes I need to work with them just to help myself or another. So just something to consider. And I kind of lost what I was going to talk about beyond that, but let's move forward here. So the next thing, and you know what, everything I just said, that tangent, maybe not all of that was 100% true as something I'm being guided to say. It's something I'm working through, maybe more on a human level. So feel free to believe what works best for you. I'm not trying to call you wrong. It's just something to consider. And something I'm considering that maybe will lead me somewhere important in the future. And when I have that more worked out, I'll talk about it more when I sit with it with my guides more and stuff. So there was just another quick thing where it's just like, for some of you who are going through something more intense or have gone through something more intense for a while and you're really not sure how to look past it, I do feel like therapy would be good for you. It's just, if you've been considering it, if it feels good to you to do that, if you find a good therapist, is just something that came through as well to help as far as what would help you overcome blocks and move forward. So that was kind of it as far as like, we're going to go more in depth into those topics with each of the signs, of course, but the other channel messages that came through for you, it was just like, what do you need to hear? Because I like to tackle both is, one, they gave me the word upshift. They said, you've been going through an upshift for months. So things are going to ground in a lot more strongly now following those upshifts or upgrades. Especially now through February, I feel like you're going to start to see a lot more changes regarding the upgrades you've been going through in your external world. So I'd kind of hold on for the ride, something I'm getting over the next few months. Like there is a lot changing in very positive ways for the most part. You know, sometimes when things change, we think it's negative or like, oh, where is this going? Or, oh, what about XYZ? But then it all flips positive. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. It's all leading somewhere good. I'm hearing the words. I feel like you're meant to have a good year this year. Most of you tuning in, if not all. or at least better than most. At least not the worst. If you're really uncertain and you feel like it's going to be a really crappy year, I don't feel like it's going to be that bad. I feel like it's in some ways it's meant to be a good year. That doesn't mean crazy things won't happen in the world, of course, but for you personally, you can still have a good year. And most of you, if not all of you, will, is something I'm getting. Doesn't mean certain things won't happen, but that's just something I'm hearing as we're going through this. Next message, they showed me an alien. They said a lot of you are transforming into something new, but it's like you're turning into something new as like a person, like as people, like who you are, who you're becoming. Excuse me. And it's like you're becoming something new that perhaps even the world hasn't seen, or a lot of the world hasn't seen, or maybe it's just you're becoming something new that hasn't been like around in your area before, or something like that. Or maybe you're just becoming a new type of person, as in like, this is kind of weird, but I guess a different way this could happen is, you know how there's like goth people, and I'm not trying to judge people or put them in boxes, but there's like the goth people and like the metalheads, and then there's the preppy people. Maybe there's like a new category you're stepping into that's kind of undefined, which would be beautiful. And they're showing something that's really crystalline. So it could be very energetic and etheric, and you're becoming something new in that realm and the way you're showing up on Earth with your energies, which is cool. It's a good thing, by the way, because this is supposed to be a good thing. They even clarified right here in parentheses, but they said the world needs new. So honestly, what I'm getting to say is that I would own that, even if you're vastly different than other people in your groups or your school or your work or anything like that. You are meant to be. And there's kind of like these seeds of the new planted for the highest good through individuals on Earth right now who have different energetic templates that maybe certain readers have ever seen before. They might tell you if you had some type of, I don't know, blueprint reading session, if that exists, or Akashic Records or something. It's like you have something new that's like not quite defined on Earth yet, or you're becoming that, or like there are certain people who have been seeded with that are meant to bring the new to the Earth. And I'm not always huge on like the whole grids around the Earth thing, like grids of light workers. I think those are ways to understand things. Maybe it's how it works. Maybe it's a little bit different. What I'm hearing is it's more like an energy field or a template or something that's there uplifting the Earth. But whatever it is, it's kind of like you're part of creating that, if that fits you and you feel like that's you. Or maybe you'll see it in the future and be like, oh, cool. But it's definitely a good thing. It's highest connected. It's a beautiful thing. So that's not a bad message at all. But yeah, I don't know. Next message here, money. And what they said about money is like money is going to be a little bit different in the future. Maybe even like what money is or the way it works. I feel like it's going to be better though. And this might not be tomorrow, but in the next years, a few years out, things like that. I don't feel like it's like too far out, but they just said be gentle on yourself regarding money with the way the world is right now, but know it is entirely possible to be good monetarily throughout this whole time period, especially if you need to hear this, maybe it's a good idea to start like preparing, like saving up, or I'm not saying like something terrible or devastating is going to happen and you need to like freak out about this, but maybe it's a good idea to like buy extra food or stock up on food a little bit. Again, not a doomsday proclamation at all. Just if there's a way you can prepare, maybe try doing that, just in case. It might not. What I'm also hearing is it might not even be that bad regarding what happens financially going forward. It might just be, in your particular situation, preparing helps you a little bit. But most of you probably gonna be totally fine, is what I'd say. But that's not financial advice, and feel free to consult whatever professionals would help you the most regarding all that. But don't worry too much about this, is something I'm hearing as well, unless you really feel like you need to. And you know what? Some of you may already feel like you're in dire straits. Some of you tuning in. I would do whatever you can within reason to get on a good leg and to heal that, and maybe even disregard some of what I said here. Not because you won't be fine, but it just might not apply not that you won't be good, but it might not apply as much, if that makes sense. There's more on money, and I feel like hopefully I'm not spinning in circles too much with that message, but what else would be helpful for you guys regarding that? Give me 1 second to get the message. I feel like if you are healing a lot of money issues right now, or money wounds or money situations right now, you're going to be doing well in the future, especially if you put in the work to heal that and heal your mindsets and heal your energies around abundance and finances. And like now is the time to work on yourself regarding that, and maybe look into courses that are healing around money and abundance, or look to people who have a lot of money and get around that energy and see what it's like. Because sometimes you can pick up on a lot of healing by like meeting people who have a lot of money if you don't have a lot and you're not used to being around people who have money, because you can realize like, oh, that person's actually really kind and like cool and generous, and they just happen to have money, and it doesn't like define them or make them a rich asshole or something like that. And you can start to kind of loosen up your judgments around money and people who have money, and begin to receive more of it, because you'll be maybe less afraid of how you'll be perceived. And sometimes you can do that by getting around people who have money, or getting around that energy, like places that feel more opulent, is something I've heard that, you know, getting around places that have a lot of money energy and just kind of soaking that in, or just getting more familiar with that energy, more comfortable with it, can help bring it in the future as well. And I got that from Lee Harris. I trying to give credit where credit's due at all times, but it's also what I'm being guided to say a little bit here. Well, fully here on that as well. But now is the time to heal like money issues, mindsets, energies, wounds, things like that. So don't worry about that. Let's see what else would be highest must for us to get to here. So to show me the color purple for the collective message here, then they're also showing me some other things like grasshopper has been showing up, just like grasshopper has been going ham as a symbol that's been showing up, or a spirit animal that's been showing up for like the readings since like November, if I'm remembering correctly. But what's with the color purple here? It's really about expansion, and what it's reminding me of is an expansion to the crown chakra. But I feel like everyone's expanding in different ways, in the ways that are right for them. And if you're expanding right now, you're doing everything correctly, whether it's like a physical expansion, like you're trying to expand your money, or you're trying to expand your friend circle or relationships, you're trying to expand your perspective. That's like the perfect way to go right now, because it's kind of like we're all being called to expand over the next year in some way, and to push ourselves and go beyond our limits is something I'm hearing as well, and seeing what we're really capable of. And if you're doing that or planning on doing that, I really would, and I would continue doing that, because I feel like that's not the total message, but in some ways, like that's the way right now, and it's what we're being called to. With grasshopper showing up here, this grasshopper is wearing a hat in my intuitive visuals here. And I hesitate to say this, but it looks like a pimp hat is the words I'm getting. And what is going on with this grasshopper? Okay, this grasshopper is resigning his old ways. He's taking off his hat. He's putting on a new hat, and he's looking for honest work is what this grasshopper is doing. But he's kind of changing his ways and changing his tune, and in a lot of ways changing up his whole life as a result. And that's kind of, I don't feel like this is the perfect message, so I want to try and get the better way to say this. If you're doing that right now in some way, not that you're literally doing that exact scenario that I literally talked about with the kind of hat he was wearing, of course, but if you're changing like what you're doing, or going in a completely different direction, or transitioning right now, like that's perfect is what I'd say. That's what you should be doing. I just really feel like we're all being called to something new, and I would really heed that call. Otherwise it might feel like you're stuck, or you might be stuck for a bit until you're ready to do something new. And I'm not trying to like freak you out and make you be like, oh, I must do new things right now. But that's just what I'm hearing. So if you're kind of changing your hats you're wearing, resigning your old life in some ways, maybe not all of it, but maybe even just parts of it, or maybe it's just in work, or maybe you're moving, maybe it's just at home. That's something I would consider doing as well. That's kind of it for the collective. They were showing me a snail here, and it's another message about things speeding up, as can sometimes come up when snail is a visual they show me. And anything else with that here? I think sometimes when things slow down, it's like you think they'll be slow forever, or you're like, oh, this is just the new pace. But if you think of like Mercury in retrograde, or even like Mars retrograde, which we're almost out of, I think. I haven't really been paying attention to the specific dates on that. Things are going to rocket forward probably around like March, maybe April, but I'm getting March. and if you're watching this in the future, it's going to be in the next couple months, or sometime in the next 6 months at the very least is what I'd say. Things are going to be rocketing forward in some way. Like, it's not always going to be a slow pace. So we're going to close the collective reading. Hope that helped and made sense. Of course, I just did whatever was for that is good for it to do for you. And we're going to move to the firesides. So I'm going to take a sip of water. Oh my gosh. And a sip of coffee. Okay. So for the fire signs, thanks, Authentic Mystic. We're going to jump into the fire sign. So if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it. So let's dive into the first part, which is what would help you overcome your blocks and move forward, if anything, or if you have any blocks. I think sometimes I don't like to presuppose we have blocks. I don't always like the presumption that they are there, but that's the reading they wanted to do today, so we're doing it. The first thing that came through for you is anything. So what would help you? Anything to move energy every day, like daily, would be very helpful. And there's a lot of different suggestions. One, exercise and like moving your body, even if it's like 15 minutes of yoga. Some of you already do this probably. Healing sessions for yourself, for getting them, like we talked about for the collective reading. Give me 1 second. Okay. Meditation, I suppose, could help. Self-Reiki, sound healing, literally anything that will help you move your energies, move energies. The other thing they said is like passivity, like being passive is not going to be the answer for you right now, is what I'm getting. And by the way, the message with like doing anything to help move energies, it could be a small thing. It doesn't have to be anything crazy like Rocky Balboa, training on the beach for 8 hours or whatever. It can just be like 15 minutes of yoga, a 10-minute self-Reiki and then exercise or just something. But that's just going to be doing a whole lot more than you realize over time. For some reason, they're showing the visual of, if you remember, if any of you grew up Catholic, I grew up Catholic, there's a whole story of Jesus moving the tombstone, after he's crucified. And they're showing me that for some reason. It's like the daily moving exercise or healing, not to trigger any religious trauma, by the way, but they're showing like, that's like moving the stone out of the grave or out of the way of the grave. And you're kind of, more free. You're not held back. You're not stuck, because it's almost showing it like a pile of putty as well. It's like, as you're moving the energy, it's kind of like a truck that's, spinning its wheels, trying to get out of the mud. But it's like, as long as it keeps spinning the wheels and keeps the energy going, like it's going to, it's going to pull out, because it's like got that slow movement, but then it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. Woof. It's like, if you keep moving the energies, it's like that. And then you'll be moving forward. Next thing to show me, which we kind of talked about in the last reading here, balloon is what they showed me, but it was about like expanding your perspective. They showed me all these kind of concepts of like being having the prison of your own mind, or being a prisoner of your own minds. And the 8 of Swords tarot card is what they showed me as well, which kind of captures that energy. But they said, one thing that will help you is realizing there's probably another way of looking at things that would help you move forward in life or in a certain situation, or multiple. If you sit and meditate and expand your perspective, you will see a path forward or be able to move forward. Sometimes you think you are trapped in some way, but you are really not at all trapped. Right now, Source is being very merciful with you, as a side message, and allowing you a lot of grace with getting out of crappy situations. So as long as you are willing to expand your perspective and move forward, you will be fine. You're probably going to be fine in general anyways, but that's just something they said would be helpful for you right now. And sometimes you really just need to sit with things. And I don't know if this is something, hopefully just hearing the message helps you in some way with, you probably understand what they're talking about. But the thing that comes to me in my mind, which might just be me, is I hear things like that. I'm like, okay, how? How do you just sit and expand your perspective? Like, what would help you guys do that? And sometimes just sitting and putting your awareness on things does do that. Things just like click, you get realizations, energy shifts, etc. Other times, and like this for you could just be like pulling oracle cards for yourself or tarot. And sitting, like, do you get any information or messages as you're sitting with it? Do you get any new ideas? It could just be journaling about it and getting certain things out and kind of spilling things onto the page, like your perspective, and realizing, oh, there's another way I could look at this. Like, oh, maybe I'm being a little bit silly here with this thing. I don't need to be as angry, or things like that. So anywhere you can, if you're familiar with expanding your perspective, perfect, do that. But anything like that, I would just sit and try it at the very least and see what happens. And sometimes I feel like even if you're just setting the intention, or as long as you're setting the intention to do this, it'll help. Like if you sit down and meditate or journal with the intention to expand your perspective, release yourself from the prison of your own mind, see what happens. Maybe you'll manifest your way out of it like that too, while taking action with that intention. Maybe not the perfect, I didn't say that like the perfect way to look at it, but I just feel like just doing this will help. So anything else that would help you guys with that? We're going to move on. If they want to bring it back to that topic, we will. So the next section is, what do you need to hear? And they did show me a balloon again, but it was a different balloon. It was like, it turned into the hot air and like Remax balloon. It was about moving. They just said, for you guys, this year is a great year for moving if you need to move. Beyond that, beyond that, I feel like your perspective is expanding. Funny enough, I do see you setting yourself free from a lot of crappy situations the next few months. So if there are any like crappy situations going on for you, or like there are going to be like doorways out of them that seem to, or actually magically appear, or like, doorways out of them appearing where you thought there wouldn't be any ways out. So I feel like the universe is really setting you guys free from a lot of when I say crap, they're using the actual like swear word. So if there's any like shit you've been stuck in, I can't remember if I can swear on TikTok, or just like crappy situations. Like I feel like there's a lot of doorways out of them that will really help you guys out, which is really good. I really feel like the fire signs need to be set free. I feel like you've been constricted in too long in certain ways, whether it's your own mind or it's physical situations, and the universe is really trying to get you out of them, whether it's through messages I'm bringing through, or through me or other readers or other situations or people in your life that magically show up and just say the right thing. So I'd really be paying attention to the signs, to the opportunities that show up, to the doorways for the highest good that show up, because the universe is really trying to set you free, even if it's from yourselves in some ways right now. And I mean that in the best ways possible. Anything else? I feel like there's more. So what else would be highest much for me to get to here? So we're going to move on to the next message. They showed me like a safety pin. They started out with the word safety, and they said there's a lot like keeping you from moving backwards right now. If you think of football, there's like if some of you may or may not be familiar with American football, but there is like a term called safety, where a team gets tackled in their own end zone and the opposing team gets 2 points for doing that. In life, it's like you're prevented from that happening, like moving too far backwards, if that makes sense, and being cost too much because of it. But I feel like one of the keys for you right now to a lot of your problems is literally just moving forward. It's like, where can you move forward? Where can you get that momentum going? Where can you take action to do that, rather than just like sitting in certain things and like waiting for them to change? I feel like if you're taking action on things, they're going to change. So this is your reminder to take action regarding your crappy situations or where you feel stuck. Maybe it's have a conversation with someone, like a partner in your house, or have a conversation with someone at work, or address certain situations. Or, sometimes, I'm not saying this is literally what's going to happen, but they're showing me like a letter from the IRS. Like things can get resolved a lot more quickly if you're like, take action on the letter, instead of just like sitting with it and like waiting. So consider that one of your keys right now that would be helpful for you. So I'm going to just ask what other messages would be that's going to come through for you right now. They're showing me water next, interestingly enough. They're also showing me a hot desert. I don't know why this matters. And for whatever reason, what they're showing me in particular is like a hot desert, like in Mexico. I think there are deserts in Mexico, like that kind of stretch from like Arizona and stuff. And so what is the message here? So in deserts, there are a lot of particular ways of surviving, like the ways you get water, the things you can eat that are perhaps like different than how you would survive in a forest in nature if you had to, like with foraging and things like that. So there are a lot of skills you're learning or have learned in the past to survive in certain circumstances, like you won't need moving forward as well. And it's okay to have those in your back pocket, just like anyone who may have survived in the desert alone somehow in some type of weird situation where they were stranded in the desert. They probably don't need all of those tools in modern life exactly. One thing I have to say for you that I'm getting is don't think that the way things are is how the way things always are going to be regarding any difficult situations. But two, don't think you're always going to have the same situations that are going to need all the same tools all the time. Like for some of you, or a lot of you, there are things you've gotten out of where you no longer need those tools in the same way, but it's like you keep employing them anyways. It's like you're scavenging for scorpions to eat in the forest, or trying to find water when water is already abundant, or things like that, metaphorically speaking, in your life. For others of you, there might be certain survival mechanisms you've learned in the past or are currently even learning that you won't need as much going forward. And why am I delivering this message? I feel like so it's easier to transition and like recognize what those things are and let go of them a little bit. So, well, what's the best thing for me to say here? It's just so you don't keep using the wrong tools is something I'm getting. And I want to ask if there are any concrete like examples of this that would help you recognize what I'm talking about. Most of you don't need any, but for instance, if you had some type of trauma and developed certain coping or survival mechanisms as a result, you probably won't need them in an untraumatizing or untraumatized situation. And maybe you're learning how to let go of those like trauma coping mechanisms is one thing I'm getting, or realizing there's different ways of dealing with things that are more effective in a more untraumatizing environment, if that makes sense. For others of you, maybe it's like you're in a work situation or in a past work situation, you needed certain ways of relating that help with your coworkers now, or like a difficult boss or situation or customers that maybe would be detrimental in future situations. So you might need to unlearn a little bit of the bad habits you picked up in like survivor mode, if that makes sense. I don't feel like I'm saying this perfectly, so I apologize, but I don't want to take too much time if I'm not saying it well. But what's the best way to say it then? Just know there are certain tools you might not need going forward, especially in like a survivor sense or regarding difficult situations. And again, I'm so sorry if I didn't say that perfectly, but I'm just going to ask the universe to rectify that in whatever ways would be for the highest good if you didn't understand it, or if you need more information to help you out regarding that. And it actually, what I'm hearing is it's about healing the survival mechanisms of the past. So you're not acting like a caveman in modern day society by, as a metaphor, I guess. Anything else I would do for that's good for me to bring through right now here? They are showing me a scorpion next, interestingly enough. And they're kind of showing how, like, I know we use that metaphor, but maybe scorpions aren't the best thing to eat because of the poison, because you have to like kind of avoid the stinger the whole time. And it's kind of like a mess. I feel like if you've been getting your subsistence in some way, and for some of you, this might be literal with like the food you're eating. For others, it could be like relationships or social diet, I guess. You're being called to let go of the things that are like venomous, or it's like tricky to navigate in like your situations, even if it's bringing you sustenance in some way, and just move towards the healthier options, whether it's people, it's entertainment, it's, things like that. Maybe it's literal diets for some of you, but I feel like that's few and far between. It's because there are better options that are not like poisonous or that you have to like eat around the poison for you. And I'd be heading towards that if you know what that is here. I'm also hearing the words better life here for the fire signs. That's what you're all headed towards, but sometimes it's tempting not to go towards that because of the pain of changing or letting go of certain things, or the growing pains of who you're becoming, or the ways you have to change are uncomfortable. But I really would, whether it's acclimating to a new work situation, or it's becoming someone new through the work you're doing, or just, all those ways that things can be uncomfortable, I'd be trying to grow through them and not staying stuck just because growing is painful sometimes is something I'd say, because it's really leading you to a better life. And eventually things are better. They're good. Life really can get better is something I'm hearing. And sometimes you have to work on the energetics underlying all of it and heal that instead of just changing the physical circumstances and wondering why it's not changing. And sometimes it's both. It's changing the physical and the energetic. Sometimes it's one or the other. Sometimes you've changed the energetic and you just have to change the physical or wait for the physical to change. But you get what I'm saying. Don't hold yourself back just because certain things are difficult, or growing through things is difficult is another message I'm getting for you guys right now. We're moving on to the color blue. They're showing me like a blue ocean. There's a whale. It's a humpback whale, if you must know. There's jellyfish, there's a mermaid. So what's going on here with this blue ocean and all this stuff showing up for you fully fast? Good. These visuals. It's really interesting because they're showing it as like you as a scuba diver with like a limited amount of time in the ocean based on like the air you have in the oxygen tank or the air you have accessible to you. And it looked like an old style like scuba suit. Like maybe there's like a giant tube going up to the air too, and like you only have a certain distance. Well, never mind. I'm straying from the message. So what's the actual message here? You only have a limited amount of time in your life as it is right now. It's like, eventually things change in the landscape as they always do. And sometimes we think certain phases will last forever, but they won't. So it's like, what are the things you want to experience with the way your life is right now is the first question that you can and have access to. What can you heal so this phase gets even better is another question they have for you, because maybe there's certain things that are clouding your vision or not allowing this experience to be as good as it can right now. And two, what are the things you'd like to have and do and create while you can and have access to certain resources? Because there's like a treasure chest on the bottom of the ocean. There's jellyfish. There's a whale. There's things you can't necessarily experience anywhere else. So in some ways, what they're saying is make the most of your time. Do what you'd like to do right now. In some ways, you never know what's going to change. That might change the landscape. And then there's no jellyfish. And then maybe you're in the desert. And maybe it's fine in the desert, not to go back to the desert. But it's just not the same. So do what you can right now to experience your life in the best ways possible with like the opportunities you have. As far as an example of what this could look like maybe there's certain friends you could hang out with right now that you won't be able to in a year because you move or they do. Or maybe there's certain people you love to spend time with that you won't be able to in the future. Things like that. Or maybe it's opportunities in work too that maybe eventually they won't be there. So just make the most of this time period right now. I feel like it's unique for you is something I'm getting. It might not always be there. I'm definitely not trying to freak you out and saying like, oh, these important things and characters are leaving. It's more the landscape. I don't know how to describe it. Well, is there a better way to describe it? I feel like you'll get it, but let's move on and see what else they want to bring through. Starfish is showing up next in our underwater adventure, I suppose. And the starfish is usually about regeneration. It can heal really quickly. Like you cut off the limb of a starfish and it grows back its limb, and then the limb grows up another starfish there. The starfish is really unique. It has like 6 legs instead of 5. It kind of has a jewel in it, and it reminds me of like a Pokemon from when I was a kid as well, funny enough, but it's not. And what's going on with this starfish here? The word I'm getting, interestingly enough, is like psychic healing. Like some of you might have been bludgeoned for your psychic gifts, maybe even now, but in the past, or like people looked at you funny. And maybe some of you have always wanted to hide them, or you're like wary of them or how people will receive you. I feel like that's healing. And I've never really encountered this, but if others of you in any way feel like you've had any type of damage or wound to your psychic gifts, if that makes any sense, or maybe they're just in the middle of a transition and like you feel like you lost them, but they're still there and you're still working with them, but you're still afraid of it. I don't know. Maybe some of you feel like you're in that situation. I feel like they're going to be totally fine. It's like they're healing, they're up leveling, they're upgrading. So you're not really losing anything, and you're going to get them back is something I'm hearing if you're worried about that in some way, shape, or form. So psychic healing is one of the things as well they're talking about. They would like to move to the earth sign soon. I'm not sure how long we've been working with the water sign messages, but I want to see if there are any messages for the water signs before we part ways or start to wrap it up here. So they're showing me this item. Funny, they showed me something that was akin to a Pokemon in there. I know this resonated for one person in the past with like the item that showed up, but there was this item again from when I was a kid from Pokemon called Rare Candy. And what it would do was it would like level up your Pokemon automatically without them having to do whatever they do to level up. And they're showing that for you, but what they actually mean is it's about rare circumstances. It's like you're kind of heading into a rare time in your life, and I'm not sure if it's really what the ocean symbolizes. It could be a part of it, could be beyond the ocean, but it's like where they're like rare circumstances, rare events. Like I'm hearing something weird, like things that would only happen to you, but maybe even in a good way. I would really capitalize, one, just enjoy it and appreciate it. One, like if you see like a really rare, cool, like multicolored shooting star or something, like it's cool just to see it and appreciate it and recognize it for what it is. It might be helpful to say, thank you, universe, ask for more of that. For that, but even just for anything cool in your life, by the way, it's just, thank you, universe, ask for more of that. What would it take for more of that cool stuff to show up for me? Like if you get more money or a raise at work or something like that. But with the other thing with the rare events here, I feel like some of them, if not all of them, are like rare, but they also have like utility in your life. Like maybe for instance, maybe you're just gifted something that's like rare but highly valuable. And like you can do more work. Like maybe it's a high-end computer or something. It seems a little weird, but maybe it's a car. I don't know. It's something rare that's important, and that's just what I'm getting is showing up for you, which is cool. So they want to go back to the shooting star, though. I feel like that's an important visual. It could be a sign that rare thing is showing up, or it could be a sign like it has shown up, like you see it, this thing shows up, and then you get to see like shooting stars. So but again, they're reminding me of the tool of asking for more of something when you have it in your life, or just asking like, what would it take for more of this to show up? Thanks so much, universe. And it's not like you're being ungrateful. You don't need to hear this, but what I was going to go into was, it's not like it's not like it's being ungrateful when you ask for more of something good necessarily at all, because you can be very, very, very appreciative of something showing up in your life and be like, I would love more of this still. And I really appreciate it. And I'm not underselling that. I just would love more. So don't be afraid to ask for more ever. Because the universe is infinite, and maybe it will take some time to show up. Maybe it won't. Universe knows the best ways, but there can always be more. And I mean that in the best ways possible. So we're going to move on to the earth signs here, if that's good. Is this for the earth signs or the fire signs? This thing that's showing up. Okay, it's for the earth signs. Because they started out by showing me Atlantis, which was really interesting. I potentially have like a slightly different take on Atlantis than a lot of people who talk about like Atlantis and Lemuria and past lives. I'm hesitant to buy into it fully, personally. That's just me, and I'm not saying you're wrong if you're really into it or if that really resonates for you, but I don't know if I really need to get into it. I'm going to drink some water and coffee, and sorry for the water bottle ASMR, or you're welcome, depending. And it's not like regarding like they want me to zip it for a second. Okay. They're like, put it up, then let's talk. Okay, earth signs. If you have an earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it. Tell us what you think about Atlantis. Okay, let's delve into it. And then they'll probably get to the message of what they were trying to get to, unless they just wanted me to have this discussion. If it resonates for you as like a template that like a reader would use for like what people are like, or what they came into this lifetime with like, I don't know, certain gifts or abilities or something like that, or who they are, I feel like that's perfect. Was Atlantis, I mean, I can see what they'll tell me right now. Were Atlantis and Lemuria like actual real places that were highly advanced, like all these people talk about? They were real in a sense, but they were not real in the ways that people think they were. And that's what I'm getting, is where a lot of people get it wrong, is they take it very literally. They think they were like flying around in spaceships and stuff. But a lot of it's like a projection regarding what we have now on the past. and is very different than people say. Like, did those civilizations exist? Again, yes, in a sense, but it's different is something I'm getting. And what I'm also hearing is like, could people have had past lives in those civilizations? Yes, absolutely. Do they have the same weight and, spiritual precedence as like we put on it? Again, no. It's in some ways yes, but it's like it's a lot different than the projections of current readers or people have on it, like through the books they've read or things like that. So my approach, I hold it loosely. If someone came up to me and be like, oh, you're from Atlantis and da 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 da, I'd be like, okay, I'll sit with that. I'm not necessarily going to buy it. I'm not necessarily going to not buy it. I mean, like, I'm going to sit with that, see what that means or resonates for me, and I'll see what clarification the universe gives me going forward. Kind of same as like what I talked about with cell towers. Like, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to not buy it. I'm going to try and see what's actually there, or see what is actually the universe trying to do through this thing for me. Is it information I need? Is it trying to teach me something about this topic that I can, or is it just trying to give me different information through that thing that I can take with me going forward? So again, I'm not going to like poo-poo it, but I'm also not going to go crazy about it just because I heard it. Does that make sense? Like maybe potentially earlier on in my journey, I would have been more apt to just like buy into it fully. Or maybe a part of me would have been like, we'll see. But another part of me would have like, yes, Atlantis, so that's my thoughts on it. And I know that's not a super strong opinion. It is and it isn't, but I'm just so hesitant to like buy into certain things very, very fully just because. And another thing I could talk about, never mind. We're going to talk into the reading. We're going to jump into the reading, and maybe like we can delve into more things like this before like the channel, like towards the end here. Because otherwise I'll talk all day about things like emerald tablets. I'm like, when you look it up historically, like I don't think they actually exist like physically. Like I think it's just a book. And it's just like, but some people buy into it so fully, they're like, no, they like physically exist there. But it's like, I don't think there's any evidence they do when you like research it historically. And like, I think the other interesting thing when you get tapped in, when you hone in your gifts, when you get tapped in, it's like you get the information on these things that people have just bought hook, line, and sinker. Where you're like, that's not really fully a thing, huh? Like it's really like, especially conspiracy theories. Like there's so many conspiracy theories. Like maybe there's, as I've heard from other people, like maybe there's kernels of truth, but a lot of them are just like, no, like it's not true. And that's why that's where I get hesitant with like things like cell towers, chemtrails, Atlantis, Lemuria. Because sometimes it's just people went way off the rails. Without kind of keeping it a little bit more grounded and be like, okay, what's really going on here? Instead of just like, yeah, the government hates us all. It's like, maybe I don't think the government really works for our highest good. Honestly, I'm not like, yeah, governments are friends, but I'm also not like, they're all in a one big club hive mind conspiring against humanity either. Cause maybe in some ways, yes, but not really, I think there's a more balanced, grounded way to approach it that also brings in intuition and fully accurate intuition instead of just like, going way off the rails with it. That's my perspective. And maybe if I'm not making sense with my words, you're at least feeling the energy of it and you can receive something from that. That's helpful. But anyways, let's get back to the reading. What would be highest much for you? Does that make sense, guys? Thank you for the beautiful message for Leo, sending you love, light, and healing. Thank you so much. You are welcome. Thank you so much, Lena Pilgrim. I appreciate it. Excuse me. We're going to dive into the reading. So this is for Earth sign, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I hope the digression into all that stuff was at least interesting to hear, I guess, my perspective and some of what I was getting on it. And we'll go deeper into it. So the first thing that came through, and this is like, what will it take to overcome your blocks and move forward? What I was getting for you guys is this is like, especially regarding like manifesting for the earth signs. One, they showed me a boulder of course, for the year signs. And they said, like, realizing how strong that you are strong enough to handle things. And for any of you who need to hear this, I would stop cowering, stop thinking things will be worse than they actually will be. You are strong enough to handle like anything you would like to do right now and like the potential consequences. But there won't be any negative consequences for a lot of the things you'd like to do, or if any, is something I'm hearing as well for you guys right now. It's like maybe you're afraid to move forward because of the past ways parents or people have treated you when you tried to do your own thing. But I don't feel like you need to be afraid. Be not afraid is what I'm hearing. And so that's just one thing that might help you, is realizing you're strong enough. And it's reminding me of like a lion with a thorn in it. Or like maybe a lion as a cub had a thorn in its paw, and now like the lion as an adult is afraid of thorns, but it could handle it like nobody's business, or it thinks that just because it had one thorn and it was so painful that every time it goes by a certain bush or a bush, it's going to get a thorn in it and it's going to really suck. But it's not. It's something I'm getting. It's kind of like the lion's protected from the thorns. You are protected from thorns in some ways, unless you're being stupid, is what I'm hearing. Not that you're stupid, but you know what I mean. Like, don't jump out of a plane without a parachute kind of thing, I guess, but take that at scale, not as literal. And yeah, that would be something that would help you. It's just something I'm getting there. I just also feel like some of you are afraid of punishment that's not going to come, regarding like what you would like to do, regarding some of your thoughts on things, regarding some of your perspectives. And I just feel like you need to own it and sit in your power anyways, which is kind of the next message. There is more with the boulder though. I feel like the universe is going to show you your strength with ease. I don't feel like it's going to be through a difficult situation. It might be like something someone says, or just some realizations you have while you're sitting on the bus or in your car driving or whatever you do, planes, trains, and automobiles. And that's just something I'm getting as well. Because I think sometimes, at least for me, something I've run into is I think I've had enough. There have been certain instances where the way I got a perspective or learned something or a manifestation showed up was a little bit more like challenging. They don't want me to say it this way. What's the best way for me to say this? If you've been through this as well, like, you'll understand. But if you've ever asked for something and it was really like challenging getting there, or like I just don't want to make this, I don't want to make you guys afraid in any way, shape, or form. But like, maybe sometimes you asked like for the universe to show you how strong you are. It's like, okay, here's like 20 challenges that are really strong. What I'm hearing is it's not going to be like that. Like, it could be just be like you have a realization. Like, it's like a gentle, feather touch instead of a ridiculous, crazy like experience to show you how strong you are. Because I feel like all of you, if not some of you, have been through enough. It's just like, I think sometimes going through all that can also be like what makes you cower from further challenges, because you're like, no more. And I'm laughing because I get it. I understand. And I've been there. But it's not going to be that way. So that's just something I'm getting for you guys right there. And I really feel like things can show up with ease. It doesn't always have to be a shitstorm that brings us to our manifestations. And I think the more we let go of that perspective and hold higher possibilities in place, or maybe ask for ease when we're manifesting, the more things can show up with ease and less devastation, I suppose you could say. And sometimes, not always, because I don't want to stick anyone earlier on their journey with this or stick anyone with it at all. But sometimes the devastation can be more earlier in our journey, when our life is really in upheaval because of like the drastic rise in our frequency, you could say, or all the things we're learning, or the lessons we need to go through to become who we're meant to be. And sometimes we want to fast track it earlier in our journey because we're like, we see all these people who seem so far ahead, or who are so far ahead, or so advanced, and we're like, oh, I want to be like them. But it's like, you don't necessarily realize what they went through to get there, whether in this life, or I suppose you could say, give me 1 second, or another, and like, because you want to fast track it, the universe helps you fast track it. But sometimes not. That can be a little bit more brutal. I never want to take away from the possibilities of it. It's easy, but some of you who are further along, and some of you just don't need to be afraid. I feel like I'm tripping over my words, but that's what I'm really trying to say with that one, is it can be easy. And some of the things you've gone through are not going to repeat, if not a lot of them. So let's move on here. What else would be highest much for me to get to here? So they're showing me coral next, like the, the underwater thing, the coral. And what they're showing me is like the coral is actually really strong, but once it's like a piece is like snapped off of it, like it becomes brittle is something I'm getting. I feel like the parts and places where you've been like the coral has been like snapped off of you, if you would see yourself as coral for a second, metaphorically. One, I feel like they're regrowing, which I don't think is how coral usually works, but I could be wrong. But for you, you're regrowing there and you're going to be stronger than ever. That's really what the universe is trying to say, is like, you're stronger than ever. And they're showing someone who like they're in like 2 inches of water, but they think they're drowning, or they're like afraid of drowning, but all they have to do is like literally sit or stand up, or maybe 2 feet of water, but it's like, you're fine. You just need to stand up. And there's someone who's like, I don't know, like if you would imagine like Hercules, who's of course like really strong, really heroic, really powerful. But like Hercules, who's afraid, who's like so strong that like nothing could really harm him, or he could just take on anything if he would face his problems. But like if he were cowering and afraid and just like in this like, fetal position, it's like, if there were any time he would be harmed, it would probably be that. But it's also just kind of silly because he's so strong, he could like handle anything if he would just face it. I feel like that's you, is more what I'm trying to get across here with that. Is like, if you would own your power and stand in that strength and realize you can handle it, it's like the difficulty disappears, if that makes sense. Let's move on to the next message, because I've been on that one for too long. Maybe not, but tiger spirit animal was the next thing that showed up. It was about power, and it was also just like kind of a similar message, like sit with yourself and realize how powerful you are, and or sit back and think of all the circumstances that have worked out for you in the past, or gave way to you in the past, and like worked out, gave way in a way that worked out for you, and how everything worked out in your favor in the long run. And see if you get any realizations about your current situations that will help you. Any things you remember like worked for you that you could bring about to your current situations, like such as tools you utilized or techniques or things like etc. And also just like realizing the universe is working in your favor and will help you. No one is out to punish you is something they wanted to say as well. Kind of a similar message. So one thing that could help you like move forward and get over your blocks is like, if you just, again, think about your past circumstances, like how everything worked out for you, how you ended up, well, I want to be careful because sometimes I say how you ended up here and you're like, this is the, but in a lot of ways, you've been brought out of the difficult situations. You've been healed from difficult situations. Most of you is what I'm hearing, if not all of you. You've come farther than you think. And if you just reflect on all you've come through and all you've gotten past and all the things that gave way to you and worked out in your favor and all the universe brought you to and all it's bringing you to in the future, you'll realize like you're going to be okay. One, you're powerful enough to change what you're going through. Two, and you have the tools, if you'll remember, is something I'm hearing, to change things. All of you is what I'm getting, just based on what you've done in the past and what you can do now. You just have to remember you have them. And nothing you are going through and nothing you will go through is punishment from the universe. Maybe it's lessons, maybe it's growing you, maybe it's forcing you to become who you're meant to be, which a lot of you potentially ask for is what I'm getting in some way, shape, or form or another. But that's just something to consider right there. And two, it can be easy, like we were just talking about. It doesn't have to be difficult. You can have fun with it. They're showing me this concept of let's move on instead. Okay. So grasshopper is showing up here. And what they said with grasshopper is like, don't ever be afraid to like change things, take leaps, try new things, etc. If you are leaping when the universe calls you to leap, you are not going to be stuck. If the universe presents a job and you need a job, for example, take the job if it feels right and feels light to you. This is really just, as I said, taking leaps when it's time to take leaps is what I'm getting with this one. Grasshopper, again, just going ham right now. He's just showing up so much, but that's fine as long as the messages are accurate and helping. And anything else that would be helpful for you guys in overcoming blocks and moving forward. Really bravery is the other thing I'm hearing, but we kind of covered it in the past messages without saying it blatantly, is something I would say in some ways. Facing the instances where maybe you had a thorn in the past and realizing you might not get a thorn, like you might be fine. Realizing you're stronger and wiser than you used to be, and life won't knock you down quite as hard if it does at all. Realizing things can be easy. And some of you are on another level than you used to be. And the reason things were so difficult was like your mindset in the past, your perspectives, where you were at. And now that you've leveled up, like you could handle it with ease and like not be phased is something I'm hearing some of the things. You won't have to. It's just something they're saying. It's something I'm getting. It's kind of like in a video game, when you face an enemy early on and you're like, oh, that was so difficult, I got wiped. But then like by the end of the game, if you went back and faced it again, it'd be like the easiest thing ever. Kind of like that. But I digress. What else do you need to hear right now? I feel like there's more though that would help you guys right now. The last thing I'm hearing is like there are some ideas you have in your head, if it wasn't clear in the other messages, that things will be difficult and they won't be. So I would try to get those out of your head and just be open to what are the possibilities of how easy this can be, or what are the possibilities with how this actually can be that might be easier than I'd ever suspect, and then move forward and just keep an open mind instead of just expecting or suspecting things will be difficult. And you might surprise yourself with what you accomplish this year if you're moving forward regardless of what you think might happen, is something I'm getting. Of course, still be smart, be wise, use your intuition, but that's just something else I'm hearing. So what else do you need to hear? They showed me a balloon popping. They just said, if you feel deflated right now or whenever you're watching this, don't worry. The universe is pumping you back up so that you can take on the world or whatever challenges you're facing. A lot of messages that seem to go in that direction with this reading today. But I feel like your deflation is being healed. And sometimes you go through a difficult season or a blow and we're just like, ugh. But that's not going to be you in the future, which is good. I feel like the universe is pumping you back up, healing you. Next message, they showed me earthquakes, but they just showed you like hovering above these earthquakes. Like they weren't really affecting you. You were kind of levitating above them like a monk or flying like Superman. And they said, if any challenges present themselves, they will be lifted away very quickly. This is supposed to be an easy year for you, or easier at least. So you will be rising above challenges as if carried away by a balloon or on the back of an eagle. So many different metaphors. But that's just something they said there. And that might be part of the reason you feel reinflated as the balloon. Maybe not, but that's something I'm getting as well right now. I feel like that's for this year though, which is good. I feel like you're meant to be hovering above the challenges this year, not like stuck in the ground while things collapse on top of you and around you necessarily. And that's how you're going to feel, is not that, but levitating. Next message they showed me, give me 1 second. They showed me a cruise ship. Please try to relax as much as you can is the message. It can be tempting to overwork, but don't. You deserve better than working yourself to the bone. Trust the universe. And sometimes resting is the answer we need to shift our energies to attract better. Sometimes resting is what we need so we feel ready to work, so we can do the best work we can instead of working ourselves to the bone and then crashing for 2 months and wondering why we're not moving forward. Don't do that. It's just something I'm getting with that one. And it can be balanced. It doesn't mean taking 20 weeks off. It could just mean like leaving enough time in your week to relax and knowing when to take a break or vacation, things like that. Next thing, I feel like grasshopper. Did we talk about this? Because grasshopper showed up again, right? But the message here is like your leg being pulled. So it was kind of like more like the universe prompting you to move forward. So if you feel like a lot of weird stuff is happening around you, like that's your cue or sign to like move forward. It's like your cue to take a leap of faith if you need an extra cue to jump or take a leap. Like maybe the universe provides you an opportunity. You're like, I'm not sure. But then like all of a sudden, like with the thing you're doing now, like things start collapsing around you. Like for instance, you have a job and the universe is like, oh, here's this better job opportunity in this other department. And you're like, ooh, but should I move? Should I not move? Should I move? Should I not move? Should I move? Should I not move? And then all of a sudden it's like your best friend in the department like loses their job. And then there's like all these rumors of like the department you're working in is going to like, be cut or whatever. And you're like, oh, maybe I should take that position that opened up. Or maybe these things happen at like the same time and you're like, okay, this opened up, this weird thing happened over here. I'm just going to move this way. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. I feel like that will help you move forward and not stay stuck, and take the opportunities the universe is presenting you to. Because it's kind of like the universe is egging you on to like accomplish something or move towards something you really desire. And maybe otherwise you would be hesitant. So sometimes the universe collapses things around us a little bit, maybe not anything important, but as warning signs in some way, but it's more like a, hey, time to move forward. It's not like a warning sign, like you're messing up everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'd say about that one. There is more here. Owl spirit animal showed up. Been a little bit popular lately, but the word was knowing. They just said the universe really has your back. I would see everything as the universe trying to move you forward and not anything as the universe punishing you, as we said like a bajillion times already. They're showing me a cactus next. They're showing me like some type of, it looks like a bison, but bison aren't usually by cacti, but he's like kind of scratching up against the cactus. This bison also looks like tough, like a stereotypical like tough character in a cartoon that has like an eye patch, and they're just like have an inhuman ability to just like handle pain or anything and not wince or care. But what is the message here for you guys? Fully for that is good. One thing they're saying is like, maybe, I know we just talked about how strong you are, but maybe don't try to put on that front or be like that. Like if something is genuinely painful, it could be your cue to move forward and not your cue to be tough, if that makes sense, and try to be the stereotypical like tough character that depicted in like cartoons and movies. Those characters aren't real. Those people can be real, but they're different. Usually they're like emotionally tough, or but sometimes they're also a little bit stunted. It's like they're a little bit numb. They have an inability to feel, and like that's why they can handle it. So don't be like that, is what I'd say. It's not really proving anything. It's not really winning you any awards. It's like you just seem cool to teenagers, I guess. So I feel like that, again, it's like that uncomfortability, that pain is like, could be a sign to move forward, not a sign to show how tough you are. I know sometimes we're in those positions where we are squeezed. Oh, I understand it's uncomfortable, but that's not now necessarily. And maybe it is for some of you, but really is just trying to get you to move forward. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I was kind of saying a lot of the similar things across the reading. I am pulling a card without thinking about it, I guess, and High Priestess is showing up. What I'm getting is you already know like where to go, what you're doing, who you are. I feel like maybe it's just time to embellish that or go deeper into that. Don't worry about the words hidden answers. Maybe that's a sign for some of you. I don't always go with the words in the card. I just go with what I'm getting intuitively and what's channeling through. But like you already know a lot of what you need to do, and you just need to like listen to that and take action on that, and that would get you unstuck if you feel stuck. Because sometimes we just second guess our path or our journey, and we're like, oh, am I supposed to get like a corporate 9 to 5? And it's like you already have a business. Like no, or you know maybe you're like, what's another example here? Maybe the universe on a silver platter is like, here's this person to date, and you're like, should I date them? Should I go back to my ex? It's like, hey. Hey friends, silver platter right here, move forward. So that's just kind of something I'm getting is, I think sometimes when it's too easy, we second guess it as well, but that's exactly how it's supposed to be sometimes. It's like too easy. It's like you've earned that. So don't second guess that either, is what I'd say with this card as well. But the main message is like, you already know, just listen to that knowing and don't second guess it, and you'll be well on your way to success. Ace of Cups coming out, new opportunity. Again, if everything is crumbling all around you, like I was getting earlier, it's either you have an opportunity to move forward already that you need to move forward on, or something's going to present itself like right away. Like something happens, like, it's like, nope, here you go. So just, that's something I'm getting as well. It's also about emotional fulfillment with this Ace of Cups. And what's the message with that emotional fulfillment here? Two messages. One, some of you are headed towards that. That's what the new opportunities will bring you to. Two, some of you already have that, but it's like a little bit buried just because of your past experiences. You think you're not because you're still working certain like traumas out of your body or recovering from certain traumatic experiences. But there's actually a lot of emotional fulfillment around you. You just either haven't let yourself experience it, or the universe is going to uncover it so you can just feel fulfilled with just more of where you're at. Not that you won't be moving forward or anything like that. Because I feel like that would actually help you feel more comfortable. For those of you that resonates for, would help you feel more comfortable and move forward, because you'd be like, oh, I'm good. I like this. We can just kind of keep going with this and move forward with this. And I'm already fulfilled and I'm getting more fulfillment. So I feel like that's a better spot to be. And the universe is just kind of moving the boulders of the past that don't let you feel fulfilled, so you can feel your fulfillment, which is good. And one more, Eight of Cups here, which is walking away, is usually what Eight of Cups talks about. I feel like you've already walked away from something, but you're in the middle of a trek to like get to the new thing. Some of you, It's like maybe you've walked away from something, you're waiting for the new thing that replaces it. Like you're still waiting for the 9 of Cups or the 10 of Cups to come up, which is what you walked away. As the story goes, as certain people read it, it's what you walked away from the 8 of Cups for. And what else do you need to hear about that? Just because the new thing hasn't shown up yet doesn't mean it won't. It will show up. So I would keep walking is something I'm getting. You're on the right path with that. And I really don't, I'm getting you didn't mess up. As much as you might second guess is something I'm getting. And the other thing I want to say right now for some reason is don't walk away from everything. If you haven't walked away from anything, there's just a few key things you need to walk away from, or like one thing you need to walk away from that would change everything for the better. If you were considering walking away from everything, I don't feel like that's the right move for you right now, is what I'd say. Like some of you might want to like quit everything and move to Bali and start a new life. They're like, don't. There's just a few key fixes you can make and everything's working perfectly, instead of, trashing everything and starting over from scratch, which is not the answer, is something I'm getting right now. Strength card coming out, and we just talked about strength a whole bunch for this reading. And what I'm hearing is we already talked about it, so we don't need to talk about it. I guess that's just confirmation. And some of you just need to hear you're stronger than you know and to move forward. So we're going to stop there with the earth signs. I feel like I need one more card though. Ace of Swords here. That's 2 aces, which is positive. And with the Ace of Swords here, what's the message here? It is about success. It's a similar message to the fire signs and what they had, where I'm hearing like, don't sit pretty, take action. So I know we talked about fulfillment, but if you do not feel fulfilled, I would be taking action on a project or a business or something is fulfilling, or an opportunity will be presented to you to be fulfilled, like we talked about earlier. For some reason, what I'm really getting with this Ace of Swords is like taking action. I feel like in the next few months you're going to be very action oriented, and I would be. It's leading to a victory is something I'm getting, and it's well earned is something I'm getting as well. So keep working on your projects is what I'd say. I'm going to close the reading there. Hope that made sense and helped and resonated. Did whatever was for that is good. And we're going to move to the air signs next. Is there anything else for earth signs before we part way here? If there were another message, they're showing me a ship. And it's like an airship, like from steampunk and stuff like that. We'll see what this represents. But a lot of you are like afraid of this airship being like shot down. But it's not going to be. And I feel like this, for some of you, this is like a business. For others of you, it's a relationship. For some of you, it's both. For others of you, it represents a whole lot of things in your life that you're hauling on this airship. And for some reason, if you need to hear it, like, don't be afraid of everything tanking. Just take a step forward. Nothing's going to shoot you down. You're in a well-protected area. You are divinely protected. The universe is watching out for you, so you really don't need to worry about anything. Take that message within reason, of course, is what I'd say. So let's move to the air signs. It's funny because I'm going to drink my water first. And my coffee. Very confirming to hear. Perfect. Lena Pilgrim, I really appreciate you just helping me out in the chat here, just letting people know what we're on and what we're doing. Helps me out, so thank you so much. I don't know if I saw any moderators here today, but shout out to Lena Pilgrim and anyone else who's helping that I haven't seen help, because I know you guys... oh, Destiny's here! Okay. Shout out to the mods and Lena Pilgrim, so shout out to Destiny for being here and helping out. I'm so sorry I didn't see you. And thank you. I got this for Christmas. I like it too. It was kind of a random gift, but it was really good. And yeah. Thanks, Andy Pandy Pie. So shout out to Destiny for being here and helping out the moderators. So sorry I didn't see you. And yeah, thank you to everyone else who just helps out in the chat. So thank you. Thank you, Destiny. I hope you're doing great too. And I hope everyone had a happy new year, by the way. And if you didn't, I hope you have a good year ahead and everything gets rectified and patched up if you had any difficulties towards the year's end. I feel like any turbulence is just kind of resigning, or will by March, or in March is something I'm getting. So that's what I'm hearing as well for everybody here. while we're talking here. And you know what? They're also just saying, if anyone needs to hear it, this is the start of a new year, so the energies are going to be different. It might take a second to go full swing, but I do feel like we're going to have a good year, is what I want to say. So I never want to like promise that to like everybody all at once, and then someone's mad because something happened. But a lot of you, if not all of you, are going to have a good year, is what I'd say. Give me 1 second here. Okay, sorry, I had to take a second. But maybe I should take a second without just holding my hand out for 2 minutes. But for the air signs, sun, moon, or rising, we are going to jump into your reading here. And so the first message, of course, here, what would help you overcome any blocks and move forward? So this is going to sound a little bit maybe obvious, but one thing that will help the air signs move forward. It's funny because they're showing me, as they're showing me the air signs and having me go into the air signs, they keep showing like air, like someone playing basketball and just like, woof, like this big 3-pointer shot or something. But anyways, the message was like forward momentum. So really just like taking action until you have forward momentum is the cure. Reminds me of a Tony Robbins quote. I haven't really gone full bore Tony Robbins. Nothing against the guy. Nothing wrong with him. Sometimes I don't know if I like maybe I'd meet him and love his approach to everything. But with what I hear, sometimes I don't always vibe with the exact approach he sells. But one thing I did see on just like a random commercial, I'm so sorry, they don't want me to say this. I'll tell you what I saw, just because I already started talking about it. Never mind. I'm going to listen. What would be probably supposed for me to say here? Okay, whatever. One thing he said was just taking massive action can be like the cure. I don't know if it's always the cure, but it definitely could be the cure. And it's like, you know, even if it doesn't work out, like take massive action on the next thing, take massive action again. And it's like, eventually what you do is build momentum is what he said. And that's not exactly where I feel like my guides were going when they said this. It's like part of it, but it's like sometimes when you have a project or a business, it's like really what you need to do is like get the momentum going. It's like if you have something you really would like to do, it's like just start on the project and just keep going with it. It's like once you get like a big major milestone going, it's like you have the momentum to carry you into the next thing, and the momentum to carry you into the next thing you need to do for it, and the momentum to carry you into the next thing to do it for it. And sometimes if we stall and stop, it's just kind of like we just kind of lose the inertia or the momentum, and then we kind of have to overcome the inertia again. So it's kind of like getting the train going and keeping the train going is what I'd say. And I feel like the best way I could convey this to you is like a feeling or an energy. Because I mean, we could use words all day, and I feel like with channeled words, it's different. But if you could take away the energy of what I'm talking about, because what I'm really feeling right now is like the energy of like momentum and how it feels to like have momentum going, and you just take action and keep doing the things. Just do what you can to get that going and keep that going is what I'd say, especially regarding like a project, business, anything. And you'll be surprised what you can accomplish when you're just kind of automatically taking action and have momentum behind things. Any examples I could use on taking action that would help you guys? We're just going to move forward. Next thing here was just like one thing you could do as just something quick would be sitting with any wounds you have and like asking them to release with ease and grace. I feel like that will help you move forward as well. It can be a bit underrated, which is a word I'm borrowing from another message I have written down here. Or it can be a bit like just sometimes I remember hearing it where all you have to do is just like, okay, I asked to release this issue with ease and grace at whatever timing and speed is right for me. Thanks, universe. And you're just kind of, and maybe you can do a quick thing to take action, help release it, like a session or something, put something on YouTube that's supposed to help counteract it or heal it. But sometimes if you're just sitting with it and you ask it to release, you'd be surprised what you can do with intention and asking. And if you'll either feel compelled to take actions to help you release it. Like you might set that intention and then all of a sudden you're like, this healer shows up and you're like, I really feel like I need a session with them. And you get the session and you're like, oh, let's handle this thing. Or maybe a reader on YouTube pops up and they pinpoint the issue and what you can do to help it, things like that. So, but sometimes, not always, but sometimes the first step can be setting the intention. Or maybe that's the second step. Maybe it's awareness and then the intention. I don't know. Sometimes just the awareness is enough to shift things. If you've ever I'll tell you, in case it's helpful for anyone who needs to hear it. And I've said this before, but maybe someone new is here. Back in the day, when I really, really first got into this more full bore, one thing that I used to have, maybe not an issue with, but that I would find myself doing in my early 20s, before I really got into channeling and things, is I'd have like an anxiety pop up or this like feeling. And like what I would end up doing is be like, to start like feeling that like energy. I'd be like, or that feeling, I'd be like, I'm going to go to the liquor store and get like a 6-pack of Mike's Hard or whatever I drank back then. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling that way. I'm going to go smoke hookah. I'm going to go get a cigar. And I'd always like turn to like these substances. It's not like I had a raging alcoholic problem or a raging smoking problem or anything like that. I wasn't like addicted. It was just a coping thing I was using. And what ended up happening was, after I got into this stuff more, I was like, okay, whenever it would come up, I was just like, okay, that anxious feeling's coming up, that feeling's coming up. And if I just took the time to just sit with it and put my awareness on it and just, I guess you could say feel it, but it was more just like sitting with it and putting my awareness on it and just kind of breathing and meditating. And like after about maybe not even 10 minutes, but if I just did that for 10 minutes, the feeling would just go away and I was totally fine. And the thing about the substances is it didn't really always work. It's like what I was really chasing was some of the more pleasant experiences I had doing those things. But the other thing about that is it might not have just been the substance. It might have also been like I was smoking hookah with friends and having a great time, or I was drinking at a party and having a good time. And so it was like I was trying to like go to those feelings and it wasn't necessarily getting me there. So that's just something that could be helpful. And that's what there's more to it, because I really feel like you can shift a lot more and bigger things with awareness, and just putting your awareness on things in meditation might be worth trying with this or anything. But if you're newer to this, that might be something that helps you. If you're not newer to this, maybe that's just a reminder for you. But and maybe sitting with your wounds and asking them to release, see what happens. Next message here, sitting and resting. So you got the easy one, air signs, but an underrated way to remove blocks sometimes you are just blocked so you don't move forward is a reminder, or the universe needs you in like a certain position or way of being or like energy before things open up for you, or the universe is trying to heal you. And so sometimes the universe is just trying to help you rest or heal by blocking certain things up. You have to use your discernment, because it can really be different sometimes. It's not a every single time thing. Sometimes, depending on who you are, and another thing I want to talk about is sometimes you have like particular ways of operating for you and the universe in your life. And sometimes it applies to other people. Sometimes it applies to other people all the time. But for instance, like, what's an example I could use? Like the thing that's showing up is like an energy and as in like an awareness or like a knowing I'm having. Sometimes I don't always have words for what I'm picking up on or how I'm picking up on it or how I'm knowing it. But those would be closer descriptors. Is someone who, for them, it's like every time they get blocked up, like how they would work with the universe would be like, okay, this is the universe telling me I need to like rest and like take a second, and then like a realization will open up or the way will open up. It's like some of you have particular ways of working with the universe you're either honing in or have honed in, and you just need to listen to that. Like I'm trying to think of an example I have, because I know I have them. And you could think of it as signs too. What's the best way to say this in other words? It's like sometimes you see a particular sign and like that's your sign for something, like something's going to happen, like the energy of it, what it's talking about, and it's like that's how you work with the universe. It's like that sign, you feel the energy with it, what it means, and then lo and behold, every single time like the thing that it's talking about happens, things like that. And like sometimes like things that are signs for us, or like the way the universe is like communicating or doing things for us, is also in like us feeling blocked or us feeling a certain way and having to stop, or certain like events that play out, not just signs outside of us, like a bird fluttering outside the window, So sometimes like our signs, and maybe it's a little bit deeper than just signs, it's like our way of working with the universe, our communication with the universe. And I keep feeling compelled to talk about this, so I'm going to talk about it. Another thing that has happened for me is just like, if you pay attention to, for me at least, to the signs around me, like with the events that would happen, it's like there's always like and it's, to me, it's like a thing like the universe is everything, like source is everything. And so it's like certain events have like personality is not the right word maybe, because I know some people attribute the word personality to ego, some people don't, but it's almost like there's a personality and an energy behind the events that happen. Like, for instance, what's the best story I have for this here? For me, like when certain synchronicities happen, there's also an energy to the whole events, whether it's an energy field or just something that I'm picking up on or feeling. So I know it's a synchronicity because of the energy that it has regarding, like, it's the same energy I'll feel like with other synchronicities. I'm like, okay, I know this is a synchronicity. Universe trying to show me something. In like another instance, it'd be like, one time I was working, and I used to work in a dairy cooler overnight at a grocery store, Whole Foods, during the pandemic, more specifically, the earlier part of it. And like one thing that the universe would try to do would keep me from going into negative thought spirals or having negative thoughts about people or things like that. And one thing it would do when I'd start to go to that place was things would like fall over in the dairy cooler, like, because you'd be breaking down pallets and then like the pallet would fall over. But the reason I know it's not, well, one of the reasons, not just the reason, I know it wasn't just a pallet falling over, it's my experience and the energy and personality that was with it. Because like the energy I was feeling from the universe and with that happening was like, hey, knock it off, stop it. And it was like an energy I was feeling. It was an energy I was feeling with it. And I was just like, okay, universe, I get it. Sorry. I'll do my best. Help me get my thoughts straight. I'll get my thoughts straight. Thank you so much. But that happens with like everything and like all these things. And I remember one time I watched this thing happen with that energy before. And it was like a kid playing with a tower block, and like the kid would also been just kind of really rough and rowdy, and like the tower block kind of like fell almost on him. It didn't like hit him or hurt him, but it was like really close to doing it. It was just like maybe kind of did a slap on the wrist kind of thing. And like I saw that energy with it, like the universe was like, hey, knock it off. And like someone else said like, oh, that's your karma for doing that thing. And I don't know if I attribute the word karma to it personally with my understanding, because I just see the energy of the universe and what it's doing through that thing. But I guess maybe that's some people's definition of karma, but that's not the word I would use. It's more the universe, like communicating with us, relating with us, helping us out. So I don't know. That's my story, that in my digression and my tangent that I felt compelled to go on, and maybe that'll help you guys out, but in some way. Anyways, sitting and resting would be helpful for you in removing blocks and moving forward, funny enough. What does that mean in tandem with taking action until you have forward momentum? It's both. It's, taking action so you have forward momentum, but not overdoing it, and like resting when you feel blocked or like you just can't, until you feel like the doors lift. And it's kind of like, I'm not saying you're in jail, but it reminds me of like someone who, the visual I get is like someone, okay, a more like appropriate version of this might be like a baseball dugout. If you're playing baseball and you have to like sit in the baseball dugout until it's your turn to like go at bat or go out on the field and play. Originally they were showing me like a gladiator kind of setting, and like someone who's like in their gladiator cage until the bars lift for them to go out and fight. But that seemed a bit more brutal than it needed to be. The other thing I was getting was like a jail, where it's like sometimes you just have to sit there until the doors open. It's like nothing else you can do. And I'm not saying you're in jail or in a gladiator prison, but sometimes that's your answer if you can't do anything else. And that's kind of what they're talking about there. So let's move on to like the other channel messages that you guys need to hear that would be good to come through for you. Cruise ship is what they show me again. I thought did that come through for the air signs? I think it did, but it came through again, and it was kind of a reiteration of that message, but for the air signs, like relax, like you too need to relax and maybe take a chill pill. Don't overwork. Find a balance with work and life. You are not meant to work all the time. And I know sometimes we are in those phases where we need to work. I don't feel like that's them. I don't feel like that's you. Because I just heard like that's not them. And so then I went to go, oh, and then I didn't translate it right. So, or I flubbed the words. Don't worry about me. Let's move forward through this message though. I just want to overwork. Take rest. Don't get thrown in jail. You won't be. You won't be literally, hopefully, or metaphorically, but you know what I'm trying to say. Next message here. Anything else with that before we move on here? I would just take time for fun too, and like mix it up a little bit. Sometimes fun is the like antidote and the answer. It's like sometimes we get the information we need when we're having fun and just like doing things for ourselves instead of always feeling like we need to be working. it can be a bit of a story we hold in society that we always need to be working, always need to be accomplishing, and very like A-type personality, like like busting through the wall like the Kool-Aid man, and working really furiously. But there was a doorway, and you could have accomplished the same thing in 2 minutes if you'd taken a second to think about it first, or had some fun and relaxed and just got a different perspective. You're like, oh, I see how I could do this, and just kind of mosey on in and take care of it in a more relaxed way. I'm not trying to call you out, but I feel like chill pills would be really helpful for all of you right now. I feel like it just seems like everything's on fire. It reminds me of Talladega Nights, if you've ever seen that. I used to love that movie as like a 13-year-old. And there's like a scene where he thinks he's on fire, but he's not. He's just running around, and he like takes his clothes off and he's running around in his underwear, thinking he's on fire, but he's not. It's kind of like that in a way, where it's just like, yes, you need to take action, get forward momentum, but not so much that it's crazy, and you get it, like the balance between those two. Hopefully it makes sense. But maybe you don't need to run around like you're on fire. Maybe you just need to take a chill pill, have some fun, and approach things in a healthier manner. Next message here, they just showed me a grasshopper, which our good friend Grasshopper said but this is a different message that normally comes up, because what they were showing me is like, when it comes to a grasshopper, you need all of the grasshopper, not just the hind legs. And a lot of the times, like, people focus on like they jump. Grasshoppers jump. That's what they do. But it's also like, they need the mandibles to eat the plants and sustain themselves and continue living. They need the other legs to stabilize themselves and walk. They need the wings to fly. Like, they need every part of the grasshopper to function and be what it is and help deliver our messages, theoretically, of course. And that's a slight joke, but not really. And, don't neglect any area of your life is what they're trying to say with that message. Like, even if you feel like it's not important right now, or you feel like, oh, I can just eschew my friendships and just work all the time, it's fine. Or maybe you have a relationship you keep putting on the back burner, even if it's like a significant other. You're like, no, I need to work. No, I'm tired. But it's good to keep it balanced, especially if you've been like neglecting one area of your life super hard. Like, don't neglect it is something I'd say. Or this is your sign or your message to just take stock and be like, if you've been doing that, like, just maybe give a little bit more attention to whatever you're not giving attention to. There was like an inkling of something I was feeling when I was delivering one of the other messages too, like about neglecting a significant other, but I don't remember it. So I don't think it's important right now. They're showing me selenite next, and they're showing it like, in the airports, at least if you're in the US, they have like TSA, and they like use the wand to like scan you for metal or whatever. And they're showing like, it looks like a spirit guide or something, or an angel with like a selenite wand, like scanning you like TSA, but it's a selenite wands. I feel like for the air signs, like what they show me really quickly, do I have this correct? I'll say it and see where else they lead me with it. But it's like the universe is kind of like scanning you with the selenite wand, and it finds like a point of like darkness, or like I know we talked about cords earlier, like a cord or something that's bothering you, and then it's kind of like targeting it and like hitting it with light, kind of like a tattoo removal laser. It's almost what they're showing me. So right now you're kind of being scanned from like the things you need to release, the darkness, and it's like very pointed, like bam, 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 like just trying to like get you to transmute it to light or release it. And a lot of your difficulties right now are like the pinpointed areas the universe is trying to heal or get you to release. So that's part of why the recommendation is to like sit and like ask to release any wounds or anything that's brought up. Because there's a phase of life you're heading into, and the TSA agent is like, you need to clear this before you pass. Like, that's what we're doing. So a lot of these resting things we're talking about, a lot of these sitting and releasing wounds, maybe it's slightly different as well, but it's also kind of leaning to that, where it's like there's certain things you need to clear before like the way totally opens up, perhaps, or like you feel clear to pass. I feel like it's going to happen quickly, like a month or so, but there just might be some certain areas that are being targeted right now that are leading to the difficulties. And what would help you with that? I feel like just hearing this message energetically is helping it lift or help in some way. And that can happen with these readings, is what I'm getting, and with channeled messages, with the energetic transmission that comes through. Even if I'm not in like full channel mode, there's still a transmission, whether it's different or not. Anything else that would help you with it though? I think in some ways you just have to be patient right now while that clears. You have tools to clear it. There's some other, things that came through that might help you with it too. But that's just one of the things coming through right now is being cleared before you pass through to the next phase. So you don't take anything with you that doesn't belong, and the world wouldn't want from you is something I'm hearing. Why? I guess I'm hesitant to say this. I don't want to freak anyone out, but maybe sometimes that energy can like infest some of the things you're working on or the things you would do. Or maybe a better way to say it is like if you have this wound or this dark spot and the universe is like, hey, we have this brilliant relationship for you. But if you have this wound, like you're going to tank it because you're going to get, scared and sabotage it. Or, conversely, maybe this other person will see this and they're like, I don't know about you. And they're going to run because they're not ready to deal with that thing. But if you deal with it, then you're not going to sabotage, or you'll at least be open enough to like work through the anxiety or whatever comes up and like keep the relationship going through that fear without sabotaging it. And they won't be as apt to like run because it triggers them and reminds them of a past relationship or something. So that might be a better way to look at it than like, oh, you're going to bring all this bad stuff into what you're doing. Because I mean, if that was a thing, I'd want people to be aware of it so that they heal it and then bring really good things. But two, I don't want you to hold off from doing things because you're afraid you're going to bring bad things to it. Because that's not what I'm trying to stick you with at all. And I never, I just don't know if that's helpful to hear sometimes. So take it more like maybe the second way with the relationship example would be a better way to take it. And like how it might like tank certain things if you pass that point with that energy that the universe really wants you to have and enjoy. Or like jobs you're going to have or things like that. So let's move forward here. Anything else for the air signs before we move forward? I know with my tangents, I really took a little bit more time, but hopefully it was just helpful for everyone tuning in and just anyone who wasn't an air sign, sun, moon, or rising tuning in. So let's move forward here. They're showing me a waterfall next. I think they're showing, how monks, okay. What I've heard is like sometimes monks used to, or probably still do, like meditate under a waterfall, and like the water falls in and it's supposed to help open the crown chakra or whatever. And do monks actually have that framework of chakras in the first place? Maybe some of them don't, but for whatever reason, monks meditate under waterfalls. And I've heard about that from like just Reiki classes I've taken or things like that. Okay, get that out of here, whatever that was. And the message was, sometimes you just get bored, like sitting and waiting for things to happen, or like you're in a process and it's like working maybe slowly or more slowly than you'd like, and you get bored. The universe is kind of asking you to, in some ways, sit through what you're going through or sit through your expansion process, because the universe is growing you, it's upgrading you, it's expanding you. You're getting cleared by the waterfall as you sit with it. It's just like you get bored with it and you want to go, for some reason they're showing it as like you want to go play with the pigs in the mud. And you're like, oh, that looks like so much fun. But it's like, that's like the opposite of what you need right now. And you just kind of need to like sit in what's clearing and what's going on there in that process. So if you're bored of a healing process or you're bored with where you're at in general, I'd stick with it because you're almost at the point where the universe is like, okay, you may pass. Like you've been cleared. Like the waterfall has done its work. Let's move forward to something that would be even more fun than playing in the mud with the pigs. And it'll be, I don't know, it's something that's way more prosperous and you enjoy it and you stay clean. And it's like, oh, this is so much better. I'm glad I waited. This is something I'm getting. So if anything comes to mind, that's a process like that for you. And playing in the mud with the pigs, what does that symbolize? It's like people you know are not good for you. It's like moving backwards when you know there's better for you. It's like what's the better way to say this? Like going back to a job you know is terrible for you would be like an example. So just keep that in mind. So let's move on to the water signs here. I feel like there's one more for the air signs. We're going to pull one card. And it's the Queen of Swords, which is about being discerning, is the first thing I'm getting with this card. The other thing about the Queen of Swords, what I'm hearing is nothing is going to be standing in your way soon. Because I've heard it read that... Give me one second. One thing I've seen other readers say with the card is like, the Queen of Swords' head is above the clouds, so she has clarity. She can see clearly. What I'm getting for this message and seeing it as is like nothing's in your way to like move forward is what's coming up. Like whatever has been in your way is moving, is the message they want to bring through for you with this message. So what else? So what about being discerning though here? I feel like it's even like regarding some of the messages I brought through today, but it's also like what the people around you are saying and trying to urge you onto, because some of it is correct and right for you and some of it isn't. And so like right now it's your job to discern, like, where do I actually desire to go? Who do I actually desire to be? What do I actually desire to have? And go those directions and get momentum going there. Because some people might be like, oh, you should date your friend Stacy or Greg or whatever, and they're so funny and kind. But it's like, you don't like Greg, you don't like Stacy. I'm trying to keep this open gender-wise. And you like Kyle, or I don't know, what's another... For some reason, Kat's the name that they want me to use. You like Kyle or you like Kat. And so you need to like try Kyle or Kat first. And like, if that doesn't work out, maybe there's someone else. But if you know you don't like someone, why would you, go to them, even if your friend said to? It reminds me of all the times in my life where one of my lessons before I really got into this, but it's really been a lesson that stuck with me anyways. Not necessarily the pain and anguish, but the wisdom was like, I just remember I had this friend, and my thought process, even though I felt differently on the inside, it was like, it was just kind of a feeling. It was an energetic awareness, but I wouldn't have called it back then because I didn't have those like words, or that now I would just know whether the channel messages or intuition or whatever. But I just had this feeling like I shouldn't ask this person to be exclusive. I shouldn't have this person move in with me. But I had a friend that my mind, the story was like, oh, but this person knows me so well and they're giving me this advice. And this person probably knows me better than anyone else I know. So I'm going to listen to what they're saying. But it was like the exact wrong thing for me to do. And like, it's trickier when you don't have as blatant of an intuition. At least for me, it was trickier back then, because right now my intuition is so blatant, it's so direct, it's so impossible to ignore or mistake. But back then it was still like maybe under the surface, or it was just like, yeah, I think I have this feeling, but nah. Like it was easier to back then think my way out of my intuition, which I didn't even have the word intuition for myself back then, probably, as far as what I would call things. And I just feel like you need to not do that. Like if you know better, like in your gut, like don't move in with this person. Don't be exclusive with this person. Don't do XYZ. Like try to listen to yourself over a friend or someone you think has your best interest at mind. They might, but certain people might also be wrong, is something I'm getting. But especially in your personal life is what I'm getting. I'm not saying it's a reader. I'm not saying it's a healer. It feels like it's more in your personal life. So that's just a story that might help you. And yeah, let's move on. So air signs, sun, moon, rising. Let me drink water first. Ooh. So air signs, sun, moon, or rising. Let's jump into your reading. Yeah. So the first thing, we need to go to the water signs. That wasn't correct. That would have been funny. So water signs, sun, moon, rising. What will help you overcome any blocks and move forward if you have any blocks? And what else do you need to hear? Give me 1 second. The first message that came through, you got cruise ship again. So any of you who has like a water, earth, and air sign, you probably need to rest and relax. But for the water signs, I was also getting like resting is going to help lift blocks. And kind of similar to the air signs as well, having fun, and just sometimes having fun gives you ideas you need. So I'd be playing a bit more and like resting a bit more and not worrying about work. Like I would do the work you need to do. I would be taking action where you need to take action and you know it's the right move, but don't over stress about it right now, because the time to take action is soon. It might not all be right away right now where you need to like drop everything and like take action and push, So those were like the first two messages that came through. The next one is important, and it's about your worthiness and realizing you are worthy. So any type of meditation or healing you can have around worthiness would do you wonders for having what you dream of in your life. It would help you heal the areas that are getting in the way of you having the things you'd like to have. You have one life as this incarnation, and you are worthy of, in theory, and you are having worthy of having the best life you can have with it possible. Realize that is something they're saying. So it's really about healing worthiness issues. If you would like a chakra to focus on to help with this, and not all of you need that, but maybe it'd be helpful, is the sacral chakra, maybe the root as well. And sorry, they're throwing more at me. Maybe the throat chakra as well. Those three is what I'd potentially focus on if this is something you'd like to tackle, or just any other way that resonates for you to tackle it, whether it's affirmations on abundance and worthiness, it's meditating on it, it's talking to a therapist, whatever you need to do to help get into this. Or because sometimes they have channel guide, or maybe they're channeled, maybe not, meditations on YouTube to help with worthiness. There's all these tools probably out there if you look for them and just find the right ones for you. I feel like what it is, it's buried under a lot of muck. It's there's experiences, there's things people say, it's other people's stuff that we're picking up on, it's people's projections and judgments of unworthiness, and we just get stuck under the muck of everyone else's garbage or just past experiences. And it's really just something you need to unbury more than it is something that you've lost, if that makes sense, or that doesn't exist. And sometimes you just have to get everything else out of the way for it to appear and take up its space and then solidify. And then you're good, or you have more of that. So then you can build off of that, if that makes sense for worthiness. But I really feel like it's more of an uncovering of everyone else's unworthiness or stories and things than it is you done messed up about it. So that's just something I'm getting there, interestingly enough. Weird side message, clearing your energies more might help with the feeling of worthiness, because I just feel like for some of you it's other people, it's not even you. And I feel like that would just also help you with your path, because you'll just see it more clearly, because you'll feel worthy of it, instead of feeling yeah, I see this thing, but am I good enough? I don't know. But it's yeah, you're yes you are is what I'd say. So what else would help you with all of that? Getting out of your head would be something that would help you with blocks and things like that. Is there an easy way to do that for you? I feel like it's going to be different for each of you. You might have to go on the journey to do that and realize how you're doing that and what it's like to get out of your head and stop being in your way with that one. I sound simple and I feel lame sometimes giving it as an answer, but meditating could be helpful with it. Or just anything that gets you in the moment and not circulating thoughts about things over and over again. I don't care if it's jumping on the elliptical or the running machine or the treadmill, or if it's working out or exercising or whatever meditation works best for you. I'd be doing that. It's going to help you out with that. I feel like you are seeing clearly, though, is something I'm getting as well. You're in a phase where everything becomes clear and remains clear for a while, and you're just seeing clearly what the road ahead is. I feel like you just have to feel worthy enough to take it. And maybe just hearing this, you'll realize, even if you don't feel worthy in some level, you're but I think I am, so I'm just going to go for it anyways. Or maybe there's something that needs to clear before you take it, the air signs, but that's just something I'm getting as well. Is this time of clarity coming in for you guys here. Crystal clear is what I keep hearing. They're showing me a crystal palace on that term, or something they're just showing me right after I said that as well here. It's about abundance. I feel like some of you are, if not all of you, are on the edge of abundance. It's you're at the door of this crystal palace and you just kind of have to knock it. And it's it's empty and it's yours, but you have to realize that. So anywhere you're on the edge of abundance, maybe you feel like you're stealing from someone or taking something from someone, but you're really not. It's that abundance is for you, that land, or that space in the clouds, if it's more in the clouds, this visual, I don't know, that crystal palace, all of that has been reserved for you. So it reminds me of a scene from Moana, the movie Moana. I've been on a Disney movie kick with the person I'm dating recently. For some reason, it just felt like the right thing to put on. And maybe it's just Mercury in retrograde and just revisiting things from the past. I don't know. But there's maybe it's messages like this that I get to move with. And sometimes things are just, not just, but certain experiences or video games or movies, it just gives all this content. I want to say ammo, but I don't like the word ammo for it for some reason. Content for my guides and spirit and source, whatever, angels, to work with to deliver messages, because they'll reuse the sound clips, but they'll change the words sometimes to deliver a message, or they'll just show me a visual on the message to give me a message, they'll show me a visual from a movie or a video game to give me a message. But there's a scene from Moana where it's at the end. They figure it out. I don't want to spoil it. I don't know if I have to worry about that. But at the end, they restore the hearts of Tafiti, which is their task in the movie. And spoiler alert for anyone who didn't think it was going to turn out well, it does. And at the end, one of the characters, Maui, loses his hook, which is his like magical item that allows him to shapeshift and like do cool things. And he loses his hook in the battle. But at the end, the goddess person like shows him, like gives him a hook back. And there's this, he kind of seems like hesitant to take it because he was kind of like part of the reason like all the bad stuff happened in the movie, and he was kind of redeeming himself. But his hook broke. Gaia, who is essentially the goddess they restore, like offers him his hook back, or like a new hook, and he hesitates. And what the main character says to Maui is like, hey, it'd be rude to refuse a gift from the goddess. And so it's kind of a spin on that like unwillingness to receive, where it's like, you know, if the universe is gifting you this thing, I'm not saying it's rude to I'm sure the universe understands, it is all of us, it is everything, but at the same time it's like there's no reason not to receive. It's like if the universe has infinite resources and it carved something out for us and it reserved something for us and it made something for us and it answered our dreams or our prayers, it's like, why aren't you receiving it? Like it did all this stuff for you, just receive it. is what I'd say in some ways. I feel like that's like just a little, that quote, that line is just like a little trick, or just something that helps you get over that receiving hump, and walk into your crystal castle and receive it and do what you will with it because it's your castle, and enjoy it. I don't feel like I said that perfectly, so what else do you need to hear about that? I just also get there's more abundance for you than you realize, and I feel like you're on the cusp of it, or on the cusp of the journey that gets you there or starts bringing it in. It may or may not show up all at once. It could be abundance that's like, you know, spills in over your whole life. Like maybe you have a dream career, and so you're getting abundance over your whole working life from it, or for a while. Or maybe it's a lump sum and you get like millions of dollars, and then you can build more abundance with it. I don't know. But I feel like there's just this abundance that's yours, and you need to realize it's yours and receive it. So anything else for the water sign, sun, moon, and rising that would be helpful for you? So what's next here? We're moving on to just what else do you need to hear right now? I feel like there's like intense healing to your heart, and that might be a little bit difficult right now is something I'm getting, or if that's been going on. For others of you, I feel like you're going to be going through an intense healing soon, but it'll be like quick. It'll be over in a flash. It's just like it hurts in the moment. It reminds me of a moment, and I'm not trying to bring heavier moments into this, but it was such a very peculiar, interesting moment to me, because I remember like something happened. This was like a few years ago. Something happens like in romance where it just something like really didn't work out with someone, and I was really, I mean, some of the, I don't want to unpack everything here, but I'm just remembering all these different things, like aspects that played into it. 'Cause like there were certain things hyping up the situation, you know, where I was like, oh, this is going to be it. Like, this is going to be my person, da, 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 da. And so they were like, that was, and my intuition was perhaps telling me something differently, but like, you know, that was one of my like listen to your intuition moments, one of many that I've been through. And, but on the other side, like it also just like doesn't always feel good when it doesn't go well romantically. And so I just remember having, without bringing too much of that energy into this, cause I don't want any like weird energies in this reading for you. But I just remember it was like really intense, and it just like hurt. It like physically hurt, and like in my chest. But it was just for like a day, or just like for an hour, and like I just sat with it. I'm just like, ugh. I just like felt it moving through, but then it was like gone. It was really intense, and it like hurts, and it was just like almost like physically. And it was like, oh my god, like it feels so weird. And like at that point, it wasn't even like about the situation. It was just like something was being like triggered and released or something. I almost feel like it was just that ensuing emotional reaction to the situation, and then like it just left. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. I don't think it's going to be that extreme or the same thing even, hopefully, but it's like it's a really intense like heart healing or trigger that heals really quickly, or maybe something that's already there that's being released from you, and they're more enthused about that message as what's going on for potentially a lot of you. It's just something that's already there being triggered out of you that you don't realize is there. It's reminding me of another quote that I've heard on a slight tangent, where sometimes grief can bring up other grief. I heard it from Lee Harris, and this explained a lot for me. But sometimes like when we have a loss or a grief come up, it's like it triggers other grief that was still stored in the body that needs to be released, that maybe just hasn't been there. in the forefront of your experience or really there as much to like just come up and out as well. It's like, oh, well, now we're here processing this, let's get all this other stuff out here too. And I remembered, like, for me, it made a lot of sense because in the past, there were times where, like, someone died. It's not like I was particularly close to them. Like, there were some experiences that I was like, oh, like, it also brought up things about mortality, I guess, to work through. But it was also just, like, it triggered so much stuff from another, like, more pertinent death in my life that had happened, like, a decade earlier, like, years earlier. And so, like, all that other stuff was coming up and out at the same time as this, not lesser death, because I don't like putting that on anyone's death, but to me it wasn't as big or deep or as solid of a connection as maybe the past one that was really being triggered up and out. So maybe something like that is happening as well, because for some reason they want me to go on that tangent and express that to you. That's thing. So any grief might be bringing up more grief. So I wouldn't worry or freak out. I would just, like, if that's something you are or were, or if at any future time you find yourself going through that, maybe that'll just help you sit with it and deal with it in a healthier and better way, instead of like, what's going on? Why is my life falling apart? And you'll be like, okay, there's just a lot more grief being triggered to release, and you can just sit with it better instead of suffering. Next message here. Let's see what else would be highest message we get to. Sorry to talk about all these like heavier stories with you guys, but let's move on to what else would be highest message for me to bring through for you right now. I feel like it's about your brain. It's not like there's anything wrong with your brain per se, but there is, the way they're showing it to me is there's like an energy field with your brain. In some of you, like maybe that's something that needs healing, or it would be good to look into healing. I don't think you have to do anything special for it. I would just like, if you, I don't know why this is coming up so much this live, but book an energy healing session. Maybe just intend some of the energy like goes to that field to help heal it. Or if you do Reiki yourself, just do like Reiki for your brain, or maybe there's something you could pull up that would help. But something where, whether it's sound bath or something just to help the brain or the brain hemispheres or something like that might be helpful. It's not anything crazy or like surreal or like so serious you should freak out about it. It's just, maybe it's like a wound or some type of block or something that once that's cleared, or you do a little bit of work for that field, it's like everything opens up for you in a much brighter and lighter way. Could just be other people's stories you bought, or like beliefs that are like inhibiting you as well. But, which I feel like, I don't know. I was going to talk about like our beliefs stored in the body instead of the brain. I feel like it can be a bit of both, and like working on both can be helpful, but sometimes it's one or the other. And the other thing is the brain is part of the body. I find it very interesting that people will separate out mind from body, because it's like, in a lot of ways, the mind seems to have to do with the body, right? And maybe it can be both etheric and physical, but we're getting into a whole thing that I am, it's another tangent. But any type of like healing for that field that you could do, whether you're just doing energy work and intending it goes to that, or something like that, or maybe just sit and put your awareness on it and just ask source or your spirit guides to do some work for it and see what shifts. That could be helpful for you guys, because it's small, but it could be helpful. Never had a message like that come through before, so hopefully it helps. Let's move to the next message though here. I guess they just want to do grasshopper for every single reading today. But for you guys, it's going to be different. They're talking about the grasshopper's head. So what's the message here? And for some reason, they're talking about like, sometimes in addition to what we just talked about, we do have to pay attention to our whole energy field, not just like what we think is running the show. Because there might be something else running the show for the grasshopper besides just his head, like its whole energy field, or something somewhere else has more sway than we realize. So if there's something going on, I want to get a little bit more pinpointed with this if I can, to help you guys, because it's like there's something where looking at like everything instead of just thinking one thing as the crux is really going to help an issue. So just being more holistic in your approach with healing certain issues or blocks is going to be more helpful than just like, oh, it's my left foot. My left foot is the cause of all my problems. And then you heal your left foot and you're like, what gives? It should have been my left foot that healed this. It's like, it could be multiple things, or it could just be the whole instead of just like one little thing. So I know I'm on like a few different notes here with this concept of healing, but and it's a little perhaps different than what we just talked about, but sometimes you think there's an issue with like one particular thing, but it's like you need to look at the whole thing, not just the one thing. It reminds me of someone who's trying to fix a car and they keep looking at the engine, but it's like the tail light that's out and you need to fix the tail lights, or but they're like, no, the engine is the cause of all the problems. The engine's where everything happens. Or it's like, yeah, it's very important, but there's still other things that need to be looked at. So if you need to hear that, I hope that helps with your healing or whatever's going on that would pertain to. But I feel like it does pertain more to healing or something going on with you, probably more so than an external circumstance, but take it how it resonates. I don't know why we're on this brain kick still, because like the past two messages had to do with like the head or like the brain. So what's going on here? Anything you could do to calm your nervous system and maybe heal your nervous system, like maybe that's something to look into, whether it's like a Reiki video for the nervous system on YouTube, or the lame suggestion that maybe is not actually lame, is cold showers, is something I always heard when that would come up for me. And I haven't heard it in readings in a long time, but people would talk about cold showers all the time, or just something to heal or soothe that. Again, I'm not a doctor. This isn't a medical advice, but I've read that B vitamins and magnesium can support the nervous system, and that might be something to research for yourself and consult people about. Wink, wink. Beyond that here, I feel like any type of healing for the nervous system would be helpful, even if there's something somewhere else you need to look at as well. I feel like that would help you move forward too. I think sometimes we just have things stuck in the body that once we work out, we're good. And that might be a helpful hint. They're showing me fire next, and they're showing how when you mix fire and water, you get steam if you do it right. Obviously, if you stick a match in a pool, it's just going to go out. But if you do it right, like a steam engine, you get, fully for that's good, you get steam. And maybe I'm going to ask for more specifics if they'll give them, but there's certain things in your life that seem like oil and water. They don't mix, but if you bring them together in the right way, it's like the perfect creation, or things work out really perfectly. So pay attention to things that seem opposite that you can bring together just right and create something new that's really powerful for you. And it could be like a project, and maybe you have like an idea for a business, but no one's ever done it this way before, that brings this like opposite thing in and like creates something really cool. It's kind of like hot ice cream. Like what if someone made spicy ice cream? Is like what's popping in. It's like no one's ever done it before, but it could be a novelty that really takes off if it's really good. I'm sure someone's done it before. People make spicy. Someone learned about the chili pepper and they're like, you know what would be great? Why don't I just pour this into my eyes and put it on everything, and it'll be the best thing ever. And some people live and breathe that. They're just like, let's just make this spicy and that's fine. I don't know, but not literally probably, but that's just, I don't know. They made hot honey. They made hot like drinks. They made spicy lemonade. I don't know. Let's move on, shall we? I feel like I've been really hitting this like specific theme for the water signs with like this healing, and for some reason. But anything else before we move on? They're showing me Jupiter. They haven't shown me Jupiter in a while with the readings, and they're showing me Neptune as well, and like Pluto. Like there's a bunch of other planets, and they're showing me a trine. I don't remember what a trine means in astrology. I think it's a good thing. But let me see what they have. I don't know if there even is like a trine between those planets. I have not studied astrology super deeply with like the transits and the who's and what's it's. I don't just channel messages, but a lot of what I do, I work with my intuition. I channel messages. But you know what I'm saying. Let's see what they want to channel in about this, or what's going on here. I just feel like, and this is not always where I would go with this message, because sometimes, my other thing I would always say is like, you're not limited by your astrology. That's a channel message I've gotten over and over again, and that does not become untrue with what I'm about to say, but there might be certain astrological things that are like really important right now, or that would explain a lot if you got a good astrology reading. And maybe learning what energies are going on for you and learning to serve that properly is like a term I've heard certain people who do astrology use, would like help you right now instead of like fighting the flow. And like, as an example, it could be like, maybe right now the energy is calling for you to rest and like recover. And that's like what all the planets are saying. and you're like, I don't want to rest and recover. I want to, I don't know, I want to work 12 hours a day, and entrepreneur, CEO. I don't sleep. I eat peanut butter sandwiches and just slave away at my computer, and I love it. But it's like, maybe you don't really love it. But two, maybe that's not what the energy is asking you to do. Maybe the energy is like, hey, like you actually need to rest and like look at this thing over here. And then you can move forward with that and eat peanut butter sandwiches and slave away at your computer all you want. But you're like, no. So it's like there might be certain like energies that are calling you to surf them in a certain way. And if you do it, everything's easier and you can drop a lot of your issues. But if you don't, it's kind of like slave labor, or slaving away is what I'm getting for some reason. So if you know astrology, maybe pay attention to that. If you know someone who knows astrology, maybe ask about that. Or if you just don't know astrology and you get an intuition, like maybe I should approach this situation this way and approach my life this way for now. Do that is what I'd say, because it just might be the answer to surfing the energies a little bit better than, maybe you're trying to like paddle your surfboard into the waves, but wondering why you're not catching any. It's like, well, yes, you need to paddle out, but then you need to turn around and catch the waves. So I don't know. Hopefully that helps and makes sense. I'm going to probably close the reading there, and we're going to do a full channel mode message. I feel like there's one more. We're going to pull a card for the water signs before we close out. So Strength Tarot card and 8 of Wands coming out here with this card, or this card deck, excuse me. My eyes are drawn to the infinity sign above her head first and foremost. I've never heard this before, but I'm hearing a phrase and it goes along the lines of like infinite problems, infinite solutions. And I feel like sometimes you can have either or, depending on how you approach life and your perspective, I guess you could say. Right now, the universe is flipping you from like seeing problems everywhere to having solutions or seeing things differently. So there are less problems. I don't like this advice, but it's what's coming through for you right now. Sometimes when you see problems and all you see is problems and all you focus on is problems, you get more problems. Sometimes if you kind of rest and step out of that and like ask perhaps what else is possible and look at the possibilities and like look at where it's leading you and take some certain different mindsets at it, everything becomes a solution, or the solutions show up is something I'm getting. So, some of you, this might not be all of you, but some of you are being brought out of being like negative about everything or always seeing a problem with something and seeing like, oh, where is this headed that could be like really beautiful. So that might just be specific for some of you, because I know I've talked to a lot of, or at least some of you like on one-on-one readings, or I know some of you, and I know you're not negative people, but that's just one thing they're kind of talking about there. The other thing you want to say with this card here, it does kind of pertain to what came through for the earth signs as well. I feel like you are stronger than you realize. I feel like there's also a lot of success for you if you're willing to tame yourself a little bit, because she's taming the lion on the card. And there might be certain aspects of you that want to run wild or run the show that aren't supposed to. Like maybe there's the 3-year-old that doesn't want to go to bed part of you, and you struggle with going to bed on time or something. That wasn't the perfect example. Or there's the 6-year-old of you that you don't like certain foods, so all you're going to eat is sausage, but it's like your body is sick of sausage. It's like a weird example that's coming in, but you just need to, maybe there's vegetables that are delicious. You just need to find them. But taming some of the aspects that are running wild in a negative light is also going to help you move forward in a positive light. And it's also about habits and like forming habits around what you'd like to see and where you'd like to go. Okay, sorry. What's the best way to say this here? The question I'm hearing for you is, what are the habits you can form that would move your life forward in a different, better way that you'd like to see, or that would bring you the results you'd like to see? Because a lot of your problems right now, if you have problems, could be about your habits and the way you're habitually approaching certain situations, or habits around how you view things or think things, thought loops you have that are habits based on triggers in your environment. And switching it up and like changing your habits or forming new ones would kind of override some of the old ones, or would just help form new habits that would help you be successful. So I would look at your habits and see like, what's the habit I can form that would help me be successful or move in the direction I'd like to go, is something I'm getting. And sometimes, not always, the habit precedes the results. Once you put in place the habit that will bring the results, you'll get the results. Other times, maybe anything could work, but that's just what I'm hearing for you specifically right now. It's just looking at your habits and healing them. Sun Tarot card coming out here. I feel like this is what's next. I feel like once you get through this next period of like wading through the jungle and if there's any confusion, I know we just talked about a lot of clarity coming in for you, I think. There's going to be a lot of this, like potentially even like in March, if you're watching this now, like onwards, like a lot more of the sun shining through. A lot of the difficulties gone is something I'm getting as well with the Sun Tarot card. I feel like this is also what you need. So you might even consider inviting the sun in, inviting a sun period of your life in for you right now, setting intentions for it. I feel like you've done enough work for this to show up, or a lot, but there's just a few more things, or a few things that need to move out of the way before it show up. And that's kind of what this reading has been talking about, is like, what's in the way of this? How can you part the clouds? How can you move forward to this or invite this in? And you will, is something I'm getting. So that's cool. They are showing me the moon to kind of complement that card as well. I feel like the moon, so moon tarot card periods can kind of symbolize confusion or not being sure where to go, or you're just kind of not sure what's going on. I remember one time I did something about the moon and someone commented it's about illusion, so it could be about that as well. But what I'm getting is like, it's almost like you've been in a moon phase in the past, but it's over. But like you didn't like it, so it's like your eyes are still shut. So like you don't realize like the sun is coming up and the dawn is coming, but you still think things are like the way they used to be, or like the way they are is the way they used to be, or like nothing's going to get better. But if you would just kind of, I guess you could say, change your habits, open your eyes, be willing to look at what's coming up instead of being afraid of it, like you'd see really good things. So one thing they're kind of talking about is dropping the weight of the past. Give me 1 second here. Dropping the weight, what's the best thing to say? I'm so sorry. Dropping some of the weight that you were carrying from the confusion, dropping thinking that things are always going to be that way. Because I feel like if you open your eyes, it's the sun. It's just like doing the healing that will allow you to open your eyes so you can see it more clearly. But I feel like there's still something more I'm missing on that. So give me 1 second here. The other thing they're saying is like, you know what, that moon period or the moon periods are healing, so you'll be able to open your eyes anyways, is kind of more what they want to say as well. So it's kind of like someone who got stung by a bunch of bees in their face and their face gets swollen and they can't see, but then the swelling goes down, you can see again. That's kind of what they're showing me as well. And I didn't mean to laugh at it, but I don't know. Sometimes when I'm channeling, I just start laughing and I don't know what to say. So anyways, we're going to move forward, and that's kind of what they're showing me for that. Hopefully that all helped and made sense and resonated, and we're going to move to the full channel mode session in a second. I just need to sit for a minute, and maybe I'll chat with you guys for a second, and then we'll start when they tell me to. So spot on and helpful. Thank you. You're so welcome, $1 Jillion Priestess. And it is good to see you, by the way. Good to see you here. Hope you're doing well. Okay. I'm going to give myself 2 seconds, but otherwise I'm going to start the channel very soon. Okay, they're like, just start the channel. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, so should I go through my spiel? I mean, a lot of you are familiar with the full channel mode. It's just I go full channel mode. My spirit guides, angels, and source start speaking through me. They deliver a message. There's the message itself, and there's also the energetic transmission. That's kind of like a healing session, or it does other work, but it's for the highest good. You may find your own intuition sparked, or you might get claircognizant knowings about what's being talked about, or it might just take you on your own journey, like a meditation, and you kind of get your own messages about things. And maybe there's more that I haven't talked about or heard other people talk about before. I really haven't heard too many other people talk about channeling, but I don't want to limit it in any type of negative way, so I'll leave it a little bit open to whatever else True Highest and Best Infinite Source wants to do with this and for you. But it's going to be kind of like a healing session in some ways. So you can close your eyes and just treat it like a meditation or heal or do whatever you want to do. And I'm going to step out. I'm going to step out of the way, see what my spirit guides, angels, and source want to say or would like to say. As far as what they would like to talk about today, I feel like this is going to be about healing, but it's about like going deeper in healing and like pulling out subconscious blockages, or maybe that's just what we'll be doing energetically. We'll see. That's really interesting, but we'll see what they want to talk about, because sometimes it's a surprise. So anything else? And they're also showing me like eagle, which I think they've shown before other channels before, but as like a symbol or a sign. So in some ways it's about freedom and setting yourself free. So let's start. I'm going to start coughing for a second probably, and then I'll usually laugh and then start channeling. So here we go. Welcome to today's channel, and we are going to talk about deep healing. For you are all ready for it. You are ready to go deeper in your healing. You're ready to pull out the blocks and stoppages, which is why that was the theme of today's readings that we presented for you to go through the journey of. Even if you did not cognitively go through a journey with us as we went through the readings, you went psychologically, energetically, perhaps in some ways through a journey with the energetics that would spark the healing of the blockages, or begin to remove them, or lead you to the things that would begin to remove them. You are healing deep blockages at this time, and all the things in the way of your evolution individually and in the way of evolution as a collective that you are going through on Earth. And the deep blockages are the things that need to be removed. Deep in the subconscious, deep in the energy fields, and some of you are not aware of them, or you are on some level. You will all have infinite awareness if you will have it, if you will open to it. You can all know anything within reason. Do not beat up on yourself if you do not seem like you know, or you think you don't know. That is common. A lot of the knowing was browbeaten out of you at early ages because no one thought you could know. Unless you had very psychic parents who owned that and taught you the same, you could know anything. You could know things with intuition and channeling. It was likely browbeaten out of you by society, by the messaging, even perhaps not subliminally, but buried in certain shows or movies, how none of the characters seem to know anything or seem to be able to uncover things, or just the way certain psychic characters are portrayed in the media, sometimes as scammers. Sometimes they are portrayed in a negative light that is not true if you meet someone who is the real deal. And each of you has the potential to know everything. Be a psychic or a clairvoyant that knows a ton and could really help people with that. The potential is in each of you. None of you are limited from that or restricted from that. That's part of the message we want to deliver today, is removing your block to that. Even if it doesn't show up right away or this lifetime, the possibility, that seed is within you, as it is within anyone on Earth. Even the animals, even the plants, they are energetically aware beings. You could communicate with them, much like a shamanic practitioner talks to a tree, though in some instances, in some ways, they are talking to source through that tree. It is a way to access the divine through what's on Earth. So you do not need to limit it to being just a tree when you talk to the tree, or just an animal if you receive a telepathic message from your pet, as some people are familiar with doing. This is not so woo-woo as you might think. It is the design of life on Earth, on an energetic universe, in an energetic universe, on a planet that's made of energy, as you may have surmised. Source is everything. Energy permeates everything. Energy is a part of anything. You can read energy with energy. You can read any energy with your ability to read energy. We apologize for the stumble. Human mouths are tricky. And sometimes this one in the chair, he blocks the messages, not usually with these channels, but for himself. And this is not to beat up on him. This is just to tell you, you do not have to be perfect to do what you would like to do, to grow, to become a channeler or intuitive. You just have to be willing to work through the blocks as they arise, stumble past them if that's what it takes, and see yourself to the other side of it. Go through the lessons. Go through the harder parts of learning if that's what it takes. Because it does not come easy to everyone right away. Intuitive work, channeling, whatever it is. Sometimes it takes intention. It takes deep work. It takes removing blockages, moving mind blocks or subconscious blockages, removing the stories and beliefs of others, uncovering you and your potential. And you can manifest that. But some of you beat up on yourselves because you do not have things right away, despite what people have told you. And you do not need to do that. Sometimes it just takes time, which is one of our messages we have for you today, by the way. With manifestation, with building yourself, your career, sometimes it just takes time. And beating up on yourself is not the answer or the thing that will bring that to you faster. And you could ask yourself, if you find yourself beating up on yourself, just gently, okay, what would be more productive for me if this thing is not showing up right away? In the meantime, some of you want to have the business right now, the intuition right now, the knowing, the blocks removed right now, the healing right now, the trauma gone right now, the anxiety lifted right now. And sometimes it's possible where things are instantly healed or moved. Yes. Sometimes it just takes time. So what would be more productive in those stalling periods, those waiting periods where things aren't moving instantly? And what are they trying to teach you or show you about yourself, about life, that will help you in the future? Because maybe everything you want is coming. And everything you're going through right now is what brings you to it, as you might have heard others talk about. Maybe right now is the preparation for what you desire. Maybe any stumbling blocks with your intuition are what brings you to the greatest intuition yet as you overcome them, as you learn the lessons, and you can help other people past those. Maybe as you heal the subconscious and you learn how that works and you remove the stumbling blocks, you're learning how to heal others of those same things. So you can become an effective practitioner that effectively shifts people's beliefs or blocks. And you know how humans work, and you can help them shift. You can help shift them in a session or with whatever you do, even if it's just a friend. Perhaps right now is everything that leads you to what you desire, if you will allow it, if you will allow that possibility. And what does this have to do with deep stumbling blocks? Sometimes impatience is the stumbling block. Sometimes forcing things is the stumbling block. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and reassess and move forward once you have clarity. And it sounds so simple when it is displayed like that. It sounds too easy. And it is in some ways, but in the moment it can be easy to panic when things are not how you'd like them to be because of where you think it's headed, what you think will happen, etc. How can you heal these stumbling blocks on a deeper level, however, regardless of all that, beyond all of that? You're doing it right now. You're showing up for yourself with something that you know is going to help you, or at least with the intention that it will help you, even if you are not sure if it will help you. Maybe you're on the fence, and that is okay. We urge you to gather the correct experiences and have you see what helps you. You do not have to take our word for it, but know that you're here for a reason. How can you go deeper? You're doing it. You're looking at things energetically. You're setting the intention to release the blocks. You showed up for this live, for this video. You know what you're doing, even if it's deep down. You know the universe brought you here. Whether it's something you take away from it that you didn't like, or something that you love, you got something. And by something something you didn't like, what we mean is something that's a lesson for you going forward regarding what you'll do for others, how you would facilitate a live or an event. It's still a lesson. You still got something. So let's move on to a message of renewal. What would help you renew your energy fields, refresh you for the future that's ahead at this time? A lot of you need to ground right now, and we will lead you through an exercise for grounding. You can take it with you. You can do it whenever. It's very simple. And you may have heard something similar like this before, but we would like to lead you through it. Visualize yourself standing on the earth, barefoot. And in this circumstance, be a giant on the earth. Your feet could be in the ocean, could be on a whole continent, and you're not crushing anyone or anything with this exercise. It is just about connection with the earth. You are realizing you are one with the earth. You are as big as the earth, but you are grounded to the earth. Now see a column from true highest and best infinite source flow down to you, through you, around you, deep into the center of the earth, and just stand in that column. This energy is bringing you to you. It's grounding you to the earth, or in whatever ways would be for your highest good. It's bringing you to oneness. It's clearing you. And just stand in this column. It could be golden light. Let it take whatever color it needs to. For some of you, it might be rainbow, silver, white. There's a meaning to all the colors. For you, specifically, if that happens, perhaps that's something to look into. But just stand in the column. Let it do whatever works for the highest good. Now, as you're standing in the column, ask to release any deep subconscious blockages, any energies that are not yours, any beliefs that do not belong, anything that would be for the highest good for you to release. And you can see those energies taken by the column, moved out of you, whether it's through your feet or seeping out of your skin and then brought down to the earth. And as it's brought down to the earth, it's burned up in the light of the column, which does not harm or burn you or anything important to you. It only works for the highest good. And it is recycled. And that is the exercise. You could thank Source, thank the column. You can ask your angels or spirit guides to do whatever other work would be for your highest good regarding the exercise. Then you can step out of the column, see yourself grounded on the earth, see yourself brought back to your, physically, your normal size, back to your chair. Say thank you to the earth, thank you to Source, thank you to the column. And that is one way you can ground, clear your energies, release subconscious blockages, and begin to move forward as you, who you're meant to be. It is a healing exercise, and you can take that with you wherever. You could teach that in a class if you wanted to. We give you full permission. Brandon would not mind. Does not mind. And it's one way to clear your energies and ground. But we would like to go deeper yet. One, we wish to tell you you can do that before bed every night as a way to reset and recalibrate for the day ahead. 2, your energies are the key to removing your subconscious blockages, because in your energies you can find everything. All that you are, all you have been in some ways. And it is not that you are stuck with all that you have been in your current energies and people are going to pick up with that and not like you or anything like that. So yes, you can cleanse and purify. You can be free of that. But in a way, in a healthy way, they can hold a remembrance for the highest good of what you've been, what you've grown out of, who you've become as a result of that. So sit with yourself for just a moment. Sit with your energies. Are there any areas that jump out at you that feel hot or cold, that feel like they need some love? And it could be outside of your physical body in your fields. It could be within your body in an arm or a leg, in an organ. That is the place to focus on. Any dark spots, anything that shows up or is being highlighted in this instance that feels more negative or darker, ready to be released. That is where you can focus your healing. You can, if you do energy work, send Reiki to that part or your field, begin to shift it. You could put your focus on those spots if you were picking up on them and just say, Source, I ask to release this. Help me release this. You could book an energy work session if you feel called with any practitioner that feels good to you. Ask them for help and see what happens. But even just doing this exercise, you are setting the intention to release these things, to shift them. If you are willing to shift your energies, you will find that anything can shift within you. If If you are willing to shift your energies, anything can shift. And your energies hold the key to shifting anything. That is the message we wish to leave you with. It is time to fly high this year and beyond. It is time to go higher than ever before, energetically, etherically, and you have all the support from angels, your spirit team, source, if you will ask for it, if you will have it, to make that happen. But it is time. The time is now for you to move forward. If you do not feel it is now, right now, if you feel stuck, the time is soon. And by now we mean in the next few months for you who feel like you cannot. And do not put pressure on yourself. This is life. What do you truly wish to experience? Maybe stagnancy is serving some of you. Maybe some of you like the extra rest you have right now, if that is you. There's nothing wrong with this. But we urge you to consider that forward movement will lead you to more of what you would like, not less. And that is all we will leave you with today, word-wise. We hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, that this message finds you well, and we will leave you for now regarding this message. Farewell, and we are signing out. Whew. Whew. You're welcome. Hope that was good. I think I need a new habit for what I say after I channel instead of hope that was good, for the lives. But you're welcome, guys. Take a second to come back if you need it. You're welcome, Destiny. Beyond grateful I was brought to this live. So helpful. I'm so glad to hear it, Jillian. You're so welcome. I guess you said, well, yeah, you know what I mean. Brought tears of joy. Perfect. That's awesome. That's a good sign, I would say. Perfect, Sherry. You are ready. And you will be. You're welcome, Dana Burns Arts. I saw white shapes when meditating to that. Awesome. For some reason, they give me the word expand when I read your comments. That will expand in the future, like the way you get that. That makes sense that you were seeing things like that for sure. Intuitively. You are so welcome, Patricia Linney. Okay, yeah, I'm probably gonna close out the live soon. If I were to just one thing I'm trying to do is get better at self-promoting in a healthy way. Just at the end of these, and of course you are not obligated to stick around for me doing that if you don't want to. But I do have what would be for that for me to talk about? A lot of you always tell me to talk about the book that I launched in 2020. When I get to the end here, it's Spirit Guides, Angels, and Speaking with Source. It's a channeled book just about connecting with your spirit team, but it's also really about the energetic transmission in the book and what it does energetically. It's like an energy tool, so that's something you could consider. Have you tried doing ads on Instagram? I have not, actually, Divine Learning, but that's the second person who's asked me about doing ads, and it's not something I typically think about, so I might do that, actually. I think that's a good idea. These are so healing and uplifting. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. That is always a big part of the aim. I always would like these to be the highest and best they can be, fully for the highest good, helping you guys out as much as possible, for the highest good of all. So thank you for telling me. I'm glad that's healing and uplifting. That book is a fantastic addition to any Lightworkers toolbox. Thank you, Andy Pandy Pie. I appreciate it so much. Do you do one-on-one healing sessions? I do. Right now, I do one-on-one readings. I have been thinking about doing one-on-one healing sessions again, but I haven't been guided to do it yet. So if I ever start doing that, or if I'm guided to do that, I will, of course, it'll be on my website. I'll let you guys know in some way. But bought the book a while ago, and I'm feeling called to finally read it. I hope it does all that's the highest and best for it to do for you, Lainey Lethal. I hope it helps you out a lot. Did you hear what they said about deeper energy clearing, finding a practitioner? Are you doing them? I did. I know that was in the readings as well. I think I remember them saying something about that, but I right now I'm not. Like I'm doing the channeled messages, and that's like, it's not, I don't know if it's the exact same as an energy work session, but it can do a lot of the same work, or it can, maybe it can hit in different ways or the same ways. But we'll see if they have me switch it up and start doing it after this conversation, but we'll see what I have to say, what they have to say about it. As far as finding a practitioner, I know that can be tricky, but I will trust that the right one will come for you guys at the right time if you're looking for that, if you need it. And then, I mean, I guess the other thing I have going on is they don't want me to talk about it, so I don't have to. What else should I talk about here? I think I'll just hang out for a bit. I do have a membership that's like, I do like channel messages like that are longer every month. Depending on the tier you get, there's channel guided meditations, and then there's weekly channeled timeless readings as well. So that's something you can look out if you are interested as well. If not, I'll keep doing these lives for free, of course, and keep doing free content. So no worries. Are the guides pushing you to do more healing sessions? Maybe. When is Reiki 1 offered again? Okay, probably March, because I definitely forgot to schedule that, or just haven't scheduled it. Maybe I forgot it for a reason, but probably March, just so there's a few months. Any Penny Pie, I so appreciate the feedback you leave on here. I'm so glad you love the membership as well. Where's the membership? It's on my website. So if you go to the link tree in my bio, or brandonhbloom.com is my website, there's a tab at the top, or if you scroll down it, there should be a little blurb about it too before you get to the reading scheduler on there, the reading and class scheduler. So that is where you can find it. And if no pressure to sign up if it doesn't work out for you. It's the only auto debit that doesn't anger me when I notice it. That means a lot, actually. So thank you. Thank you for your loving energy, beautiful soul. I'm so glad you appreciate it. Okay. So they want me to close the live right now. We might hang out for just a second. Okay. I was thinking about doing the guitar today. I don't think I'm going to. For some reason last week that took, it was my first day back from vacation, so it could have just been me going from rest mode right to this, but that took a lot out of me. So, I love you too, but, I appreciate getting to do this so much. I am honored that you guys are here. You guys rock, and it is great to do this for you. And I so appreciate just all the feedback and you guys telling me, how it helps you, and hopefully it helps other people too, whether they leave a comment or not. And that's no pressure to leave a comment at all, guys, but I appreciate it. I love you guys. I am sending just whatever energies would be for the highest good to go your way from true highest and best infinite source. I'm going to ask source, and your spirit team, should it be a nice good, sends you those energies, brings you ease, lifts the blocks, eases the burdens, and just brings you joy and success, abundance, all the things that would be best for you, fully for the highest good. And I think I'll part ways there. I love you too, Destiny. I hope you have an amazing week too. Absolutely. They said to send Reiki energy to ourselves. Can you send some healing Reiki to us virtually? I could do a quick just session now, maybe. Or maybe I should do the guitar and just guitar it out. I don't know, because I might need to check and just make sure I'm good to do it after all that. I'll do a quick 5-minute session, and if it goes longer, it goes longer. If you would like to do that, if anyone wants to stay for that, perfect. If not, no worries. Have an amazing day and week, and it'll probably be Reiki. And sometimes, as a disclaimer, I make weird faces when I do energy work, just because I feel the energies, and it can be I can just feel it a lot, and so I'll react, if that makes sense, or the energies will kind of push against. Not against me in a bad way, but if I make faces, that's what's going on. So I will take care of myself, Jessica Jensen. Thank you so much. So give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to set the intentions, and we'll just do a quick, just for the highest good, energy clearing, healing. We'll just let the Reiki, and if I might do some 4 angelic fires as well, which is a modality I was shown earlier last year. We'll see what they have me do. We're just going to do Reiki probably for now, though. So give me 1 second to just kind of get in a good spot and make sure I'm in a good spot to facilitate this, and then we'll begin. So give me 1 second. So you'll know when I'll start because I will let you know. Okay, so, and I'll just do my intentions aloud in case it's helpful, but I'm just going to ask to be a pure conduit of Reiki on behalf of all of you. Should it be in the highest good, pure Reiki with its infinite intelligence and infinite wisdom going wherever is needed most for each of you and doing whatever would be for the highest good, whether it's clearing certain things, removing blockages, healing, balancing, whatever would be for each of your highest good. And I ask that the Reiki just goes wherever it would be for the highest good for it to go in your lives, should it be in the highest good, to just help bring some ease as well. So I suppose you could say this will be Reiki for ease and healing. And thank you so much. May only was for the highest good occur. And I'm going to call in, should it be in the highest good, your spirit guides, each of you, to help you with the session and do whatever work can be for the highest good. My spirit guides to help with the session. And do whatever would be for the highest good to be done, and then true highest and specific source to watch over all of it, and take any energies that are released and transmute them for the highest good while we're going. So let's begin. So 3, 2, 1. And you can set the intention to just receive what's for the highest good for you to receive. We're just going to be smoothing out some energies from anything from the past that's blocking you. Removing blocks from the third eye is what I'm seeing. And you just need to sit and receive. If anyone needs to hear this, you are all worthy of being healed. And not just stuck in healing or healing loops, but being healed. Well, ready to take on life, ready to be a rock star, doing well. So see yourselves and get the sense of energetically, what would it be like to be doing well and be in wellness all of the time? You can ask for that energy from True Highest Most Limited Source and just sit with it. And the Reiki's flowing to expand that and bring it about. And it can be possible to step into being healed much more quickly than you realize. So just get the sense of that energy. What would it be like to be healed? Ask for that. And it doesn't matter what the healing's regarding, it's just what would it be like to be healed? And feeling that energetically. And ask Source to step you into it for the highest good. Bring that to your reality. And now you can just receive. And again, you are worthy, each of you, of being healed, being well, life going well, being you, the you you're meant to be. And what else is possible for you? Which is an access consciousness question, I'm being guided to say, I suppose. What else is possible for you you've never considered, that no one else has considered for you or asked of you? What else is possible for you that you would love, that would be the best thing yet, to bring you to your path that's for you? What are the possibilities you don't see? Ask for those if you want. Now. Ask they show up, get the sense of them energetically, feel them. Because there are more possibilities for you than you realize right now and always in the future. There are more possibilities than you realize on how your life can shift for the better, how your life can be better. And we're bringing that about, if you'd like, if that feels good to you. And there's no pressure to stay. If you want to leave, I won't be upset. This is for whoever it's for. Next, we're going to focus on abundance. And heal abundance issues. If you need to hear it, you are worthy of abundance. Having all the gifts you'd like to have. Having all the dreams come true you'd like to have come true. And I'm not saying it'll show up tomorrow, but what I am saying is it can show up and you are worthy of it. And what can you do to bring it about right now? And again, I'm not saying it'll show up right now, but it's what can you do to bring it about right now? And that's just about taking action. We're just manifesting the action, asking for it, asking for the steps. Because it's all right there, all the possibility, all the action steps. It just needs to be presented to you. You just need to ask for it. And maybe it doesn't show up right away, but it will. And that's what we're doing. Healing any blocks to that. You are worthy of abundance, good things. Do you feel that lifting? Just let it lift. Sometimes there are just programs we need to undo. Nothing bad or wrong. Just lifting them away. The burdens. Any darkness that doesn't belong. Because you deserve light. You're all light beings. You're here to be lights. Sometimes we go through darkness as a lesson, but we don't need it anymore. So the question is, what is the darkness I am ready to release? And you can ask that to yourselves. See what shows up. See what begins to release. So all you need to do is set that intention right now. The energy will take care of the rest, or you'll be compelled to take action at the right time. But we don't need darkness. Not right now. Depending on your definition, I suppose. But regarding what I'm saying energetically, you don't need it. And they would like to get to the third eye, so let's go to the third eye. What do you need to see? What would change your life for the better if you saw it? How can you see? And we are just asking to manifest. We're just shifting the blocks out of the way, if you have any in the first place. You are worthy of seeing. You deserve to see. You came here to see intuitively, many of you. So let's remove everything in the way of that. Did you guys know how amazing you are? Because you're a lot more amazing than you realize, is the sense I get energetically. A lot of amazingness here. But some of it's buried deep in some of you. You don't acknowledge it. You don't realize it's there, but it is. And we are not bringing it out where you lose it, but bringing it to the forefront, bringing it to the permeation of your being, or whatever would be for the highest good. So you can be amazing and know it and feel it, and it's not an ego thing. It's just an acknowledgement, a realization of what's there, a decluttering of the mind and the things that don't want you to see it, which is mostly just the stories you hold about your worth, or the things you're keeping in place by keeping your amazingness at bay because you don't want to lose certain things, perhaps. But it's time to let go of that. The things that will leave are meant to leave. The things that will stay are meant to stay. But your amazingness belongs. And you'll have much better if you bring your amazingness out and play with it rather than keeping it hidden, is the message with that one. And it's already there. We're not creating it being there. We are unlocking it, unburying it, letting it be. Letting you be you. And that's going to be the session. So you can do the grounding exercise that they showed you in the channel, or you can ground however you feel called to ground. I'm going to ask the true angels of the true highest light, or your true highest spirit guides, to sweep your aura. Because, I could do it here as a representation, but they can do it too. And you'll probably feel that if you're energetically sensitive. I'll ask them, your spirit team, your spirit guides, true angels of the true highest light, true highest and source, to wrap up that healing session and whatever it can be for your highest good. I ask Reiki and any other healing energies and modalities that work for the highest good to take part in that did, to only for the highest good continue working for however long would be for the highest good until any healing and shifts and changes that would be for the highest good are completed. And go forth a powerful, confident being for the highest good, being who you are truly meant to be without anything withheld, and doing what you're meant to do, should it be in the highest good. And I'll let the universe decide what that is for each of you, rather than have my own judgment or point of view on it. So you can ground, see your feet on the earth, ask to be grounded, ask your spirit team to bring you to optimally grounded, ask Gaia to bring you to optimally grounded, or send healing, loving, grounding energies up to ground you for however long would be for the highest good. And we will close it there. Whew, so that was much different than I expected it to be. You are welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. May the highest and best transpire regarding that. And I'm going to ask true highest and best source to wrap up that work and whatever would be for that. We'll do whatever would be for that is good regarding that going forward. Divinely protect it, watch over it, whatever. Ooh, I wasn't expecting the channeling to come through along with the session. So that was, maybe I'll do more of those. I do have water. Oh, thanks for the swan, Lena Pilgrim. Maybe I'll do more sessions like that on, we'll see, on YouTube or something. You are so welcome. Perfect. I knew it came through for a reason, but thank you so much for confirming it on top of that, because it always is helpful. That was amazing. Perfect. Perhaps I'll do more of that. That sounds fun. It felt like just what we needed. Perfect. Thank you, Jessica. literally life-changing? Dang, thank you, other Jessica. Oh, thank you. That helps so much. Perfect. No complaints. Okay. Maybe we'll do some other lives like that, or add that in or something. Please do more of that. That was good. I will. I think that's a good, that felt good. That went a lot better than I suspected. Not that I had a suspicion it would go badly, but I guess I didn't have a expectation. But oh, thank you, Lena Pilgrim. Okay, I am going to close it. More, I might hang out and chat. That was pure magic. Perfect. That's awesome. Okay. So I love you guys. As always, I hope it sounded like it was helpful, but I hope that just does all that's for that I was good for it to do for you. And I will see you next week. I'll see you on posts and stuff, and we'll see what I am divinely guided to do regarding all that we just did and how we move forward with that. But I appreciate it. Patricia Linney, I do sometimes just get conked out for like hours after lives, but I feel pretty good right now. I think that because when you're doing Reiki or channeling, sometimes or a lot of the times what's supposed to happen is you're also getting a session as you're facilitating the session for someone else. So like the Reiki's coming through, you're receiving it, and then you're up your conduit, it goes to them, they're receiving it. So it's kind of it can sometimes be good for me too, but also, and oh, thank you, Volvin Frag. I appreciate it so much. That was very kind and very good. Thank you. Okay, I am so glad to have discovered that with you guys today, or whatever happened. And I will see you later, okay? Sunday is my spiritual retreat day for yourself. That's a really good idea. Okay, you guys, take care out there. I will see you later.